This story is one of the biggest stories of our generation.
Harry doesn't even have a number where he can get through to William anymore.
This is the hill I'm willing to die on. Harry and William will make up before William is king.
Prince Harry has such a cheek that he is now piling the pressure on Catherine, the Princess of Wales, to step in and try and save his failing relationship with Prince William, not understanding that it's over, brother.
14:15, Sunday afternoon, June 7th, 2026. While the world watched the changing of the guard, a silent, encrypted alert rippled through the secure servers at Adelaide Cottage. This was not a routine briefing. This was a direct back-channel strike from the Montecito office, bypassing every established royal protocol. Prince Harry has just played what many are calling his most desperate, and perhaps his most cruel, card yet. Breaking news reaching us this morning, Tuesday, June 9th, 2026, confirms a massive diplomatic explosion within the House of Windsor. Prince Harry is no longer just knocking at the door. He is attempting to break it down by placing an unbearable weight on the one person who should be shielded from all conflict. Catherine, the Princess of Wales. The data is clear. The motive is transparent. And the audacity is staggering. According to high-level reports from the Royalist, this secret communication was an ultimatum disguised as a plea. A source close to the internal security team at Kensington Palace describes the tone as, and I quote, breathtakingly entitled. The voiceover of the reported message suggests Harry told Catherine, quote, "You are the only bridge left. If you do not step in and fix the rift with William now, the damage will be permanent and the responsibility will sit on your shoulders." Take a moment to process that. Harry is not asking for forgiveness. He is not offering an apology for the years of public attacks. Instead, he is demanding that a woman currently navigating the most difficult health battle of her life acts as his personal PR shield. This is not a brother reaching out to a brother. This is a calculated tactical maneuver designed to force a reconciliation on his terms, at a time when he knows the royal family is at its most vulnerable. Public sources suggest this escalation is fueled by a cold, hard reality, financial and brand decay. According to the Brand Finance 2025 report, the Sussex brand value has plummeted by a staggering 45%. Their influence is evaporating. Their contracts are thinning. Harry knows that without a royal connection, the Montecito Empire is a house of cards. If you find this move as outrageous as we do, if you believe Catherine deserves peace and respect during her recovery, hit that like button right now. It is time we send a clear message that the Princess of Wales is not a pawn in a Hollywood PR game. The details of Harry's demand are even more specific. He is not asking for a Zoom call or a letter. He is insisting on a face-to-face summit in the White Room at Buckingham Palace next month. But there is a catch, a major one. He is demanding that no legal advisors, no senior aides, and no communications officers be present. He wants Catherine alone in a room with him and William. Why the White Room? Why now? Because Harry knows that in a private setting, without the men in grey suits he so frequently vilifies, he can apply maximum emotional pressure. He is betting on Catherine's kindness. He is gambling on her history as the family peacemaker. One senior palace official reportedly remarked behind closed doors, quote, "It is the height of hypocrisy." He spent years painting her as cold and unwelcoming in his memoir, and now he wants her to be his savior. It is a level of cheek that borders on the pathological. This is a breaking point for the monarchy. Prince William is said to be incandescent with rage. The Prince of Wales views this as a direct violation of the recovery zone he has built around his wife. To William, this isn't just a family feud anymore, it is an intrusion into a private medical sanctuary. But Harry is running out of time. With a looming deadline for his next commercial projects and a public that is increasingly fatigued by his varying recollections, he needs a win. He needs that photograph on the balcony. He needs the royal seal of approval to stop the 45% slide in his marketability. We want to hear from you. Is Harry being a desperate brother? Or is he being a spoiled brat, as some commentators suggest? Drop a comment below with the words "stay away" if you think Catherine should ignore this message, or "reconcile" if you think she should try. Subscribe to the Royal Insider Network and turn on all notifications, because this timeline is moving faster than the palace can control. The ultimatum has been delivered. The clock is ticking toward that July date in the White Room. But, as we will see in the next update, William has a counter-strategy that Harry never saw coming. Stay tuned. To truly understand the chaos unfolding at this very hour, we must look past the headlines and examine the invisible blueprint. What we are witnessing on this Tuesday morning, June 9th, 2026, is not an accidental leak or a spontaneous outburst of brotherly love. It is a sophisticated, high-stakes psychological operation known among PR insiders as the reverse leak. This is the machinery Prince Harry is using to force his way back into the royal narrative, and the mechanism is as calculated as it is dangerous. The strategy begins with a carefully selected conduit. In this case, reports point directly to Dan Wakeford, the former editor-in-chief of People magazine. Wakeford is not just a journalist. He has long been viewed by palace insiders as a primary architect of the Sussex media image. By utilizing a third party with this level of historical access, Harry can broadcast his deep regrets and desire for peace without ever having to issue a formal statement that could be picked up by palace lawyers. It creates a cloak of plausible deniability. He can claim he never said it, while ensuring the entire world hears it. This is where the trap is set, creating a classic no-win scenario for the Prince and Princess of Wales. The mechanism is designed to trigger specific conditions. If the palace maintains its traditional never complain, never explain silence, Harry wins. He can then pivot to the American media, playing the role of the rejected son and the ignored brother who tried everything to make amends. He gains the moral high ground of the victim. However, if the palace is forced to respond even with a simple denial, Harry also wins. A response is a form of recognition. It validates him as a relevant power player in the royal ecosystem. For Harry, any engagement from William is a victory because it breaks the grey-rocking strategy that the Prince of Wales has successfully used for years. By forcing a reaction, Harry reinserts himself into the direct orbit of the future king. But the most disturbing phase of this mechanism is the escalation of pressure. When the initial peace offering fails to produce a royal invitation, the narrative is flipped. Suddenly, the reporting shifts from Harry's hoy-hern to William and Catherine's unforgiving coldness. This is specifically engineered to harvest sympathy from the United States audience, who often view royal protocol through the lens of family therapy. The hidden message being sent to the public is, Harry is trying to be the bigger person, while Catherine and William are being spiteful. The human cost of this PR machinery is what truly alarms medical experts. The London clinic, where Catherine underwent her significant procedures, has been very clear. The primary enemy of recovery from a major health crisis is prolonged, acute stress. By dragging Catherine's name into the headlines as the only one who can save the family, Harry is effectively weaponizing her illness. He is dragging her out of her quiet recovery at Adelaide Cottage and back into the center of a global media firestorm. Every notification on her phone, every headline she sees, and every whispered report about her husband's fuming reaction adds a layer of cortisol that her body simply does not need. The reverse leak isn't just a media game, it's an intrusion into a private medical sanctuary. The question remains, why now? Why is this mechanism being activated with such intensity on this specific Tuesday? As we look deeper into the shadows of this royal civil war, we find that there is a much more chilling reason for Harry's sudden urgency, a reason that involves a set of documents currently sitting in a secure safe at Kensington Palace, waiting to be unsealed. The clock isn't just ticking for a family reunion, it's ticking toward a revelation that could change the line of succession forever. Beyond the smoke and mirrors of PR leaks lies a cold, hard architectural reality. This is what we call the authority staircase, the legal and security walls currently being constructed to protect the future of the British monarchy. While the media focuses on Harry's supposed regrets, the palace is focused on a much more serious dossier, the absolute betrayal of trust. In March 2026, a quiet but seismic shift occurred within the security infrastructure of the royal family. An internal memorandum from the office of the Prince of Wales at Kensington Palace triggered a comprehensive review of electronic security protocols. This was not a routine check. The Royalty Protection Command, known as SO14, was brought in to conduct an exhaustive sweep of all communication channels. The consequence of this review was unprecedented and, frankly, shocking. A permanent, legally binding directive was established. As of March 2026, Prince Harry has been officially and permanently blocked from accessing any medical records or health updates concerning the Princess of Wales. Think about the weight of that decision. In the eyes of the British security state, the King's own son is now classified as an information risk regarding the future Queen's private health data. This isn't just family friction, it is a state-level lockout. The breaking point wasn't just a disagreement, it was the realization that any sensitive information shared with Harry has a high probability of appearing in a streaming documentary or a ghost-written chapter. But the staircase goes higher, reaching the most sanctified levels of British governance. We are talking about the point of no return, the false allegations of racism that were first broadcast in 2021 and later codified in the memoir Spare. While the public sees this as a family feud, the institution sees it as a constitutional attack. This file has moved beyond the palace walls and into the hands of the Privy Council. Prince William has reportedly made it clear that these allegations were not just personal insults, but a direct violation of the loyalty clauses within the Sandringham Agreement. That agreement was the binding legal framework for Harry's departure. And the consensus within the Prince of Wales's circle is that Harry has functionally defaulted on those terms. To William, this is the irreversible break. The legal precedent is being set. You cannot claim to be a member of a family while simultaneously accusing that family's most senior members of the most heinous social crimes. The mechanism for reconciliation is not just broken, it has been dismantled for the safety of the crown. Every move Harry makes now, every plea for Catherine to intervene, hits this wall of legal and security reality. He is trying to appeal to a sister he once loved, but he is facing a future king who is operating on a timeline of institutional survival. The documents are filed, the security protocols are active, the loyalty breach is documented. As we move closer to the midpoint of 2026, the question shifts from will they forgive him to can they ever afford to trust him again? But as the legal walls close in, a new set of data is emerging. A timeline of events over the last 2 years reveals a series of hidden triggers that explain exactly why William has moved from anger to this state of permanent, clinical exclusion. What happened in that 45-minute meeting at Clarence House that the public was never told? The answer lies in the trail of breadcrumbs left across the Atlantic. To understand the explosion of betrayal regrets we are seeing this morning, we must trace the digital and physical breadcrumbs left over the last 28 months. This is not a sudden storm. It is the inevitable landfall of a hurricane that began building in early 2024. When you look at the sequence of events, the why behind Harry's current desperation becomes crystal clear. The trail of the collapse is documented, dated, and devastating. The first major crack appeared on February 5, 2024, in London. The world stood still as Buckingham Palace announced King Charles had been diagnosed with cancer. Prince Harry scrambled, catching a transatlantic flight within hours. But the reception was clinical, not emotional. He was granted exactly 45 minutes at Clarence House. 45 minutes. He spent more time in the air than he did with his father. This was the first official signal that the Sandringham Agreement had evolved into a Sandringham lockdown. The king was protected, the son was a visitor, not a family member. The isolation deepened on March 22, 2024. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, released her courageous video message to the world, revealing her own battle with cancer. But the real story was in the timing. Global intelligence sources confirmed that Harry and Meghan were informed of the news only minutes before the rest of the world saw it on television. The trust was so shattered that the future Queen of England could not risk her medical status being leaked from across the Atlantic. They were no longer in the loop. They were spectators. By September 15, 2025, the financial floor began to rot. In Montecito, reports surfaced that the massive Netflix deal, the primary engine of their independence, would not be renewed in its full, original capacity. Simultaneously, a devastating brand audit revealed Meghan's approval rating had plummeted to a record low of -32%. The Sussex effect had inverted. They weren't just losing influence, they were losing the capital required to maintain their lifestyle. The conflict moved from the boardroom to the stadium on January 1, 2026. As Birmingham prepared to host the 2027 Invictus Games, Prince William issued a definitive ultimatum. Through official channels, the Prince of Wales declared he would not, under any circumstances, appear on the same balcony or in the same honorary stand as his brother. It was a total geographic separation. William wasn't just avoiding Harry, he was erasing him from the official royal landscape. This brings us to the haunting images from last week. June 5, 2026. At a polo club in California. Harry was photographed alone on the grass, looking forlorn and distant. Most notably, Meghan was absent, even though the event was hosted by her longtime associate Jose Andres. The united front was gone. The image of the lonely prince on the grass was a visual precursor to the chaos of this week. And that leads us to today, Tuesday, June 9, 2026. The leaking of the Betrayal Regrets Dossier. This is not a sincere change of heart. It is a tactical reaction to 2 years of systematic exclusion and financial decline. Harry is staring at a future where he is irrelevant to the monarchy and unprofitable to Hollywood. He is attempting to reboot the connection because he has realized that in the game of royal influence, he is currently holding a dead hand. The timeline is a map of a failed revolution. But as Harry reaches out to Catherine in this breaking news moment, he is ignoring one While he was watching his brand value drop, William was watching his wife fight for her life. The gap between those two realities is now a canyon that no PR leak can bridge. But there is one more player in this game whose secret reservations are about to go public, and it involves a ghost from the palace's past. While the world focuses on the emotional tremors within the family, a far more complex game of grand strategy is being played out in the halls of power. On this Tuesday morning, June 9, 2026, we are gaining unprecedented insight into a secret diplomatic mission at Windsor Castle, one that has effectively trapped Prince Harry in a geopolitical no-man's land. Public sources suggest that King Charles has recently been forced to exercise his ultimate diplomatic skill to navigate an incredibly delicate relationship with Donald Trump. This isn't just about tea and ceremony, it's about the survival of the special relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States. Behind closed doors, the king, often characterized as a defender of traditional values and environmental causes, has had to find a way to align with a political figure whose views are frequently seen as the polar opposite. But there is a specific neo-realism detail in these high-level exchanges that has left Montecito shivering. Donald Trump's views on the women of the House of Windsor are well documented and devastatingly consistent. On multiple occasions, Trump has praised Catherine, the Princess of Wales, calling her fantastic and a credit to the monarchy. Conversely, his public and private criticisms of Meghan Markle have been sharp, labeling her actions as not good for the institution. This creates what experts are calling a diplomatic pincer movement. Think about the strategic alignment here. You have the British state, the future King William, and arguably the most powerful political movement in the United States, all converging on one point: a profound respect for Catherine and a deep skepticism of the Sussex narrative. Harry is no longer just fighting his brother, he is fighting a global consensus. By attacking Catherine in his past works, Harry didn't just burn a bridge with his family, he alienated the very power players in Washington and London who determine the status of the special relationship. The isolation of the Sussexes is not just a theory. It is now backed by a crushing numerical mandate. A YouGov poll released just hours ago, on the morning of June 9, 2026, reveals a staggering statistic. 78% of the British public now openly supports Prince William's decision to maintain an iron wall around Catherine. 78%. This is no longer a 50-50 split in public opinion. It is a near-total rejection of Harry's back-channel attempts at reconciliation. The British public sees William's protective stance not as incandescent rage, but as the necessary duty of a husband and a future king. This 78% figure acts as a political shield for William, giving him the democratic authority to continue his policy of total exclusion. Harry is now caught in a gong kim wai jiao, a diplomatic vice. On one side, he faces a father who must prioritize the stability of the crown over the desires of a wayward son. On the other, he faces a global political stage, where his brand is increasingly seen as a liability to international relations. As the sun rises over London today, the realization is setting in. Harry's betrayal regrets may have come too late. When you lose the support of the security services, the future king, the global political elite, and 78% of your own people, where is there left to go? The walls of Windsor have never looked thicker, and the distance between Montecito and the throne has never been greater. But as we look toward the final scenario tree for the remainder of 2026, a new and even more radical possibility is emerging from the shadows of the Privy Council, a move that would strip away the final vestige of Harry's royal identity. As we stand on the precipice of the second half of 2026, the House of Windsor is no longer operating on hope. They are operating on cold, calculated risk management. The betrayal regrets leak has forced the palace to map out three distinct futures, a scenario tree where every branch leads to a different version of the monarchy. But for Prince Harry, the options are narrowing by the hour. The first branch, and the most volatile, is the scorched earth kitsch ban. If Harry feels the White Room summit is definitively denied, public sources suggest the ghostwriting for a second memoir, A Spare Two, is already in the advanced stages. A release in late 2026 would be the final nail in the coffin. It would be a declaration of total war, a move that would terminate any remaining diplomatic immunity Harry has left. This is the nuclear option, and it ends with the permanent removal of his titles by an Act of Parliament. The second branch is what insiders call the cold peace. This would involve a chillingly performative encounter at a state anniversary in 2027. We would see the brothers in the same frame for the first time in years, but with zero eye contact and zero private words. It is a hollow victory, a medium kick ban that satisfies the media's craving for a photo op, but leaves the internal ran nut as deep as ever. It is a high-stress, low-reward strategy that William is reportedly loath to entertain. However, the most realistic kitsch ban, and the one currently being briefed to senior courtiers, is permanent isolation. In this reality, Prince William activates what is known as the exclusion clause for all future state and family events. Harry is not just ignored, he is legally and logistically erased from the royal landscape. Catherine continues her recovery in a fortress of silence, her life effectively purged of the Sussex drama. The reason for this is simple: trust is dead. Stress is a literal poison to a recovering body. William has made it clear behind closed doors that he will not trade his wife's health or her peace of mind for a fake televised drama of reconciliation. The iron wall is not a temporary anger, it is a permanent security protocol. But as we look at these three paths, a new and jarring variable has entered the equation. This is the detail that has sent our newsroom into a frenzy this morning, Tuesday, June 9th. Yesterday afternoon at Los Angeles International Airport, Prince Harry was captured in a series of high-resolution images. He looked tense, shielding a thick tan leather briefcase close to his chest. But it's what was inside that briefcase that has triggered a level 1 alert at Kensington Palace. Tucked into a side compartment was a heavy manila folder, clearly marked with 2 words in bold red ink: personal and confidential. What is in that file? Is it the final dossier Harry intends to use as a bargaining chip to force the king's hand? Or is it something far more devastating to the Montecito narrative, perhaps the long-rumoured professional legal filings for a separation from Meghan Markle? The timing is too perfect to be a coincidence. Harry is flying toward a confrontation, and he is carrying a weapon or a shield that no one expected. We are working with our sources in London and California to verify the contents of that folder. If you want the exclusive breakdown of what was inside that LAX dossier, you must be here for our special broadcast. Hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon right now so you do not miss the reveal. Like this video if you believe the truth is finally coming out, and share your theories in the comments. We are reading every single one of them. The answer arrives at 2000 hours tomorrow night. Do not look away. This is the Royal Insider Network.
It's official, the Australia tour was all about selling, and yes, I did say the word selling, merching is not strong enough, the children. So-called Prince Archie, so-called Princess Lily.
$60 for a candle. That is not the price of scented wax. That is the price of a cold, calculated betrayal. Today is April 21st, 2026. While the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth fall into a solemn silence to mark the 100th birthday of the late Queen Elizabeth II, a different kind of countdown has just reached 0 in Montecito, California. At precisely 9:00 a.m. Pacific Time, while King Charles III was laying a wreath at Windsor, Meghan Markle hit the publish button on a strike that has sent shockwaves through the halls of Buckingham Palace. This is not just a product launch. This is the official commercialization of the British monarchy's next generation. This is Special Investigative File Whiskey Papa 2026/04. The website for American Riviera Orchard has just listed its most controversial assets yet. Signature candle number 506, titled Prince Archie of Sussex, and signature candle number 604, Princess Lilibet of Sussex. For the first time in history, royal titles belonging to minors' titles the late Queen insisted should never be used for profit have been reduced to retail SKU codes. If you find this exploitation of royal heritage as disturbing as the palace does, hit the subscribe button right now and turn on your notifications. We are tracking this developing scandal second by second. The timing is not a coincidence. It is a tactical maneuver. Behind closed doors at her Montecito headquarters, insiders report that Meghan's directive to her marketing team was clear. One witness recalls her saying, and I quote, "We need to own the narrative of the titles before the palace tries to strip them. If they are on the labels, they belong to the brand, but the brand is bleeding." Our investigation has uncovered a confidential dossier from the Roy Morgan polling group in Australia, following the Sussex's recent faux royal tour down under. The data is devastating. 81% of Australians now believe the royal cosplay has gone too far. Think back to 14:30 p.m. last week on Bondi Beach. The cameras showed a smiling Meghan. But our high-resolution analysis of the crowd control barriers tells a different story. The barriers were erected for thousands, but barely 200 showed up. A local observer caught a moment of raw tension on a hot microphone. Prince Harry, looking visibly mortified at the empty streets, reportedly whispered to an aide, "Where is everyone? This was supposed to be a sellout." The response he received was a cold stare from his wife. This leads us to the mechanism of exploitation. How does a hospital visit turn into a commission check? We have decoded the strategy used during the Australia tour. It's a 3-step process we're calling the tragedy pivot. Step 1. Access. Meghan visits a site of immense grief, like the Bondi Shooting Memorial or a children's cancer ward. Step 2. The royal hug. A carefully staged photo op that triggers global emotional engagement. Step 3. The conversion. Within minutes of the photos hitting the wires, the exact outfit Meghan wore is tagged on her digital shopping portals. During the visit to the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, staff were reportedly stunned. Before entering the ward, Meghan was overheard telling her PR lead, "Make this quick, we need the light for the exterior shots." The sick children were not the priority. The lighting for the Princess brand was. The backlash has been swift and surgical. At 10:15 a.m. today in London, the office of the Lord Chamberlain reportedly met with Prince William's legal team. They are not just angry, they are activating a black memorandum. This is a legal framework designed to invoke the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917. The authority ladder is climbing fast. The Duchy of Cornwall's intellectual property attorneys have already filed a formal notice of objection with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. They are arguing that the use of prince and princess on consumer goods like candles and chocolate constitutes an unauthorized endorsement by the British Crown. If you think Meghan has crossed a line that can never be uncrossed, leave a comment below with the word protocol. We want to see how many of you stand with the tradition of the crown over the greed of California. The most chilling detail? The Lilibet candle. Using the Queen's most intimate childhood nickname to sell amber and sandalwood notes on the very day the world mourns her is being described by palace insiders as the ultimate desecration. One source close to Prince William says his reaction was brief but terrifying. "She has traded our grandmother's memory for $60 a jar. The gates are now closed for good." Stay with us. In the next section, we reveal the secret scenario tree being discussed at Kensington Palace, including the specific date in July when Harry's took here could be officially suspended by an Act of Parliament. This is breaking news. Do not move. Look closely at the structural blueprint of the brand as ever. This is not a lifestyle venture. It is a jurisdictional heist. To the untrained eye, these are just luxury candles. To the forensic analysts at the Lord Chamberlain's office, they are evidence of a corporate usurpation. By cataloguing these items as 506 and 604, Meghan Markle is performing a high-level psychological anchor. She is not selling a fragrance, she is selling a digital key to the Windsor bloodline. In the world of high-stakes branding, this is known as fractional royalty. You aren't buying Saptham, you are buying the right to put a prince's name on your mantelpiece. It is a calculated move to turn a 1,000-year-old institution into a subscription service. But the most damning evidence of this strategy didn't come from California. It came from room 2402 of the Intercontinental Hotel in Sydney. The date was April 16, 2026. The time was 0200 hours. While the rest of the tour staff were asleep, a secure line was active between Sydney and a high-profile intellectual property firm in Los Angeles. Internal logs, now being reviewed by palace investigators, suggest a frantic legal consultation was underway. Meghan Markle's objective was singular. She wanted to know if the titles Prince and Princess could be trademarked as private intellectual property within the United States. This is what we call the Montecito doctrine. If the palace refuses to grant you a government role, you simply franchise the crown. If you can own the trademark to the word prince, you can sue anyone else who tries to use it. It is an attempt to privatize the British monarchy for the American market. However, Meghan may have underestimated the man who is currently guarding the gates of the firm. Prince William is not engaging in a PR battle. He is not interested in tabloid headlines. He has moved the conflict to the authority ladder, and he is climbing it with the cold precision of a future king. William is utilizing the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917. This is not a family spat. This is a constitutional audit of the legitimacy of the cash flow. The strategy being deployed by Kensington Palace is a three-step financial isolation, designed to turn the Sussex brand into a legal liability. Step 1. Documentation. William's team has spent the last 72 hours compiling a dossier of commercial desecration. Every time a royal title is used to sell a $60 candle or a chocolate bundle, It is logged as a violation of sovereign protocol. Step 2. The Commonwealth blockade. William is reportedly preparing to activate a suspension order. This mechanism would effectively bar any corporation operating within the 56 nations of the Commonwealth from fulfilling contracts or distribution deals that utilize these contested titles. For a brand that relies on global prestige, being banned from the UK, Canada, and Australia is a death sentence. Step 3. Financial quarantine. By making the Sussex titles legally radioactive, the palace is signaling to global retailers from Harrods to high-end boutiques in New York that stocking these products could lead to a permanent blacklisting by the British Crown. The game has shifted from the court of public opinion to the court of international trade. Meghan believes she has found a loophole in the American legal system, but she has ignored a fundamental truth. A title is a sovereign grant, not a personal asset. As the centennial celebrations for the late Queen continue, a quiet question is being whispered in the boardrooms of Montecito. What happens to a brand built on a title when the title itself becomes an instrument of bankruptcy? The answer is currently sitting in a sealed file at Kensington Palace, and the deadline for Harry to respond is approaching faster than he thinks. At 0900 hours in the heart of London, King Charles III sent a message that required no words. As he stood before the memorial for his mother, the king did not merely honor a century of history, he executed a tactical erasure. In a speech that spanned 15 minutes of global broadcast, the name Harry was never uttered. Not once. This was not an oversight, it was a formal institutional blackout. By removing Harry from the verbal record on this most sacred day, the king signaled that the Duke of Sussex is no longer a branch of the tree, he is a ghost in the machine. But while London maintained a dignified silence, the digital infrastructure in Montecito was facing a catastrophic failure. At precisely 10:00 a.m. California time, visitors to the American Riviera Orchard website were met with a blank screen and a 4004 error. To the public, it looked like a server crash due to high demand for the new candles. But our investigation suggests a far more surgical reality. Sources within the Silicon Valley hosting firm report that the site was not overwhelmed by shoppers. It was hit by a legal kill switch. A cluster of intellectual property attorneys representing the Crown had filed an emergency injunction, citing the unauthorized use of sovereign titles on a commercial platform. The candles weren't selling out. They were being seized in the digital harbor. The collapse of the Sussex Grand strategy was not limited to the internet. By 1500 hours in Sydney, the results of the Roy Morgan emergency poll were released, and the numbers are a death knell for the faux royal blueprint. 87% of Australians have reached a definitive verdict. They believe Harry's attempt to repair his relationship with the king through chocolate collaborations and grief marketing is not only ineffective, it is offensive. The data reveals a massive rejection of the product. The Australian public, once the Sussex's most loyal fan base, has seen through the cosplay. One poll analyst noted that the Sussex effect has inverted. The more they show up, the lower the approval ratings drop. They are no longer viewed as world ambassadors. They are being treated as disaster tourists. This leads us to the most significant development of this 24-hour cycle. At 20:00 hours tonight, a senior source within Kensington Palace confirmed a move that effectively seals the border between the two families. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, in her capacity as the coordinator for the 2026 royal calendar, has officially struck the names of Harry and Meghan from every state event, every balcony appearance, and every family gathering for the next 12 months. This is being called the Great Decoupling. This is not a temporary timeout, it is a permanent restructuring. By removing them from the 2026 schedule, Catherine is ensuring that the king's reign is not haunted by the commercial shadows of California. The message is final. You cannot be a part-time royal if you are a full-time merchant. As the sun sets on this historic centennial, Harry finds himself in a strategic vacuum. His website is dark. His father has erased him from the official narrative. his brother has blocked his return, and the public that once adored him is now asking for a refund. The Lilibet brand was supposed to be their global launchpad. Instead, it has become the anchor that is dragging their remaining credibility into the depths of a legal and social abyss. The question is no longer whether they can survive the backlash. The question is, when the final candle burns out tonight, will there be anything left of the Sussex legacy besides the scent of a failed ambition? The dossier is still growing. New reports are emerging about a private phone call between Harry and his father that took place just minutes ago, a call that reportedly ended in a 30-second silence. What was said in those final moments? The answer lies in the scenario tree being drafted right now in the shadows of the palace. Inside the sterile, high-security corridors of the United Kingdom Intellectual Property Office, a thick dossier has just been stamped with a red seal. The reference code is India Papa-United Kingdom/2026-Sussex. This is no longer a tabloid story about family friction. It is a formal, state-level investigation into the unauthorized commercialization of sovereign assets. For months, the Prince of Wales has been quietly assembling what insiders call a legal battalion. This team, composed of the Crown's top constitutional scholars and elite trademark attorneys, is not targeting Harry and Meghan as relatives. They are targeting them as a competing corporate entity. At the heart of this dossier is a revolutionary legal mechanism that Prince William is now prepared to activate. The Commercial Title Suspension Rule. To understand the magnitude of this strike, you have to understand the Windsor Doctrine regarding property. In the eyes of the British state, a royal title is not a personal surname. It is not a gift that can be taken to a foreign land and printed on a candle lid. It is a sovereign grant, a form of national intellectual property that remains under the ultimate custody of the monarch. The legal basis being argued by William's team is ice cold and surgical. By using the titles Prince and Princess to market luxury fragrances and chocolate without the explicit written consent of the sovereign, the Sussexes have committed a constitutional copyright infringement. Think of it this way. The Crown is the world's oldest brand. When Meghan Markle prints Prince Archie of Sussex on a $60 retail item, she is using a government-issued trademark to provide institutional credibility to a private product. Under the proposed suspension rule, the palace is arguing that the moment a title is used for non-charitable retail gain, its commercial validity is automatically voided. The consequences of this move are catastrophic for the Montecito business model. If the Lord Chamberlain and the UK IPO finalise this ruling, every Prince Archie candle and every Princess Lilibet bundle will be legally reclassified. Within the borders of the United Kingdom, and across the 56 nations of the Commonwealth, these items will not be viewed as luxury goods. They will be seized as counterfeit infringing merchandise. Imagine the scene at the ports of Sydney, Vancouver, or London. Shipments of American Riviera orchard products arriving at the docks, only to be impounded by customs officials as if they were bootleg designer handbags. This is the constitutional blockade. It doesn't just stop the sale, it destroys the supply chain. By making the Sussex brand legally radioactive, William is forcing global retailers into a corner. No major department store in London or New York wants to be sued by the British Crown for trademarks desecration. As we speak, reports are filtering in that 3 major luxury distributors in the United States have already placed their Mother's Day contracts with Meghan on a hold status. They are waiting for the final word from Whitehall. They realize that if they align with the Sussexes, they may find themselves on the wrong side of the world's most powerful institutional law firm. The authority ladder has been climbed to the very top. The palace has stopped playing the game of PR and has started playing the game of global trade litigation. Meghan thought she was launching a lifestyle brand. She may have actually launched a multi-million-dollar legal liability that she cannot outrun. The clock is ticking toward a final decision by the office of the Lord Chamberlain. But as the legal net tightens, a new, even more disturbing detail has emerged from the Sussexes' hotel suite in Sydney. A detail that suggests the Archie candle was just the distraction for a much larger, much darker financial maneuver involving the very foundation of the kids' future. What was found in that hotel safe? The answer is coming up next. While the lawyers in London were sealing the legal dossiers, the carefully constructed facade in Sydney was beginning to undergo a violent psychological fracture. To the world, the Australian tour was presented as a triumphant return to form. But behind the lens of the official Sussex photographers, the reality was a series of high-tension micro-moments that reveal the true nature of this operation. It was supposed to be the tour's emotional pinnacle, a visit to a prestigious children's hospital to comfort families facing unimaginable hardship. Meghan Markle arrived in a designer ensemble, ready to deploy the royal hug that has become her trademark. But our investigation has uncovered a chilling detail from the hospital's internal corridor, just seconds before she stepped into the ward. A hot microphone, likely belonging to a documentary crew, captured a hurried whisper to her chief of staff. The instruction was cold, clinical, and devoid of the warmth she was about to perform. She said, "Make this quick. We need to be out of here before the light shifts for the exterior shots." In that one sentence, the humanitarian brand was exposed as a production schedule. To the families inside, she was a duchess providing comfort. To the Montecito business machine, they were merely backdrops for a Mother's Day marketing campaign. The sick children weren't the focus. The efficiency of the content capture was. But the most damaging blow to the global ambassador narrative didn't come from a leaked audio clip. It came from a silent, tactical rejection by Australia's most beloved family, the Irwins. According to high-level hospitality sources in Queensland, Meghan's team had reached out to the Irwin family guardians of the legendary Australia Zoo to arrange a high-profile conservation summit. It was intended to be the ultimate PR endorsement, linking the Sussexes to the Irwin legacy of genuine, selfless service. But the response from the Irwins was a definitive, unwavering no. The reason for the refusal was not a scheduling conflict. It was a matter of sovereign loyalty. The Irwins, known for their fierce devotion to the British monarchy and their long-standing relationship with Prince William and Princess Catherine, reportedly viewed the Sussex request as exploitative PR. They saw the attempt to use their platform to bolster a commercial brand for what it was, and they slammed the door. In the world of high-level branding, when the most trusted names in a country refuse to even stand in a photo with you, your social currency has hit zero. This atmospheric rejection reached its boiling point at 15:45 p.m. at the Intercontinental Hotel in Sydney. Witnesses on the executive floor report a loud, frantic argument echoing from the Sussexes' private suite. Prince Harry was reportedly spotted pacing the balcony, clutching a printout of the latest crowd analytics. He was seen in a heated confrontation with a group of senior American advisors, gesturing wildly at the streets below. His frustration was rooted in a brutal comparison. In 2018, Harry and Meghan were greeted by thousands of screaming fans who clogged the streets of Sydney. In 2026, the crowd control barriers stood as silent monuments to an indifferent public. Harry was reportedly heard shouting, "Where is the crowd? We were told this would be a repeat of 2018. Why are the streets empty?" The answer, which his advisors were reportedly too afraid to give, was simple. The public has moved from fascination to fatigue. Harry is beginning to realize that he is no longer the rock star prince. He is a man in a hotel suite, watching his wife plan a candle launch while his own legacy is being dismantled by the very people he once called for support. The psychological breakpoint has been reached. Harry is looking for an exit, but Meghan is already looking for the next market opportunity. But as the sun sets over the Sydney Opera House, a new report has just hit our desks. It involves a black valise that Harry brought from London, a package that contains the one thing Meghan never expected to see. A document that could end the American Riviera orchard before the next batch of candles can even cool. What is inside that suitcase? The final revelation is next. As the centennial celebrations for Queen Elizabeth II draw to a close, The focus within the palace has shifted from memory to cold institutional strategy. Buckingham Palace is not planning a loud public execution of titles. Such a move would be a strategic error, playing directly into the victim narrative that Meghan Markle has spent years cultivating in the American media. Instead, the King and Prince William are preparing a far more devastating response: institutional neutralization. The most realistic scenario currently being drafted by the Lord Chamberlain's office is the release of a new directive on sovereign designations. This is not a family shouting match, it is a bureaucratic death blow. This directive will formally decouple the person from the brand. It will establish a global legal precedent that royal titles are non-commercial assets. The mechanism is simple but lethal. If the Sussexes wish to use the titles Prince or Princess for their children, they may do so only within the strict confines of private, non-profit protocol. The moment those titles are printed on a retail SKU, used in a press release for a fragrance launch, or anchored to a chocolate collaboration, they become non-valid designations under international trade law. By doing this, the palace doesn't have to take the titles. They simply make them worthless in a boardroom. But the pressure is not just coming from London. The real crisis is erupting in the heart of the American retail sector. A confidential document has just leaked from a major high-end retail conglomerate in the United States. It reveals that senior executives are in a state of high alert regarding their contracts with American Riviera Orchard. These retailers are not concerned with royal tradition. They are concerned with the bottom line. The Windsor IP dossier, we discussed earlier, has sent a clear signal to the market. Any product carrying the Sussex titles is now a legal liability. Meghan Markle is now standing at a historic crossroads, facing a brutal binary gamble. She can choose to keep the titles for her children, preserving their place in history but effectively shutting down her multi-million-dollar commercial empire. Or she can push forward with the sales, keep the money, and face a formal disassociation decree from the British Crown. A move that would legally orphan the Sussex brand from the 1,000-year-old institution it relies on for prestige. The data from Australia has made one thing clear: the public is no longer buying the royal cosplay. When 87% of a representative poll says the brand is failing, the social currency is gone. Harry is reportedly beginning to see the walls closing in. He is no longer the hero of the story. He is an accessory to a retail launch that has alienated his father, his brother, and the very public he once served. The Prince Archie candle was marketed as a comforting scent of ginger and cashmere. In reality, it has become a funeral pyre for the Sussexes' remaining royal credibility. When that $60 wick finally burns down to the bottom of the glass tonight, what is truly being consumed? Is it just scented wax? Or is it the final, irrevocable chance for a prince to ever return home? The Lilibet brand was supposed to be a bridge to the future. Instead, it has become the anchor, dragging their legacy into a legal abyss. We are tracking every movement of this legal battle as it moves from the halls of Westminster to the courts of California. This is a story of power, greed, and the ultimate price of a title. If you want to stay ahead of the next major revelation in the Sussex Files, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Join the conversation in the comments below. Does Meghan have the right to sell her children's heritage, or has she finally gone too far? The dossier remains open. We will see you in the next emergency update.
Did you ever meet anybody who go, oh, I really need a rest, I'll just nip into a public lab?
Oh, when's the last time you didn't pull out your phone, Ian, and spend a few minutes scrolling in there?
It is a place to scroll, but it's not a place to rest, is it?
Do you want to call it the scroll room?
The rest room. It sounds like some kind of Dickensian tavern. The old rest room.
$10 million. Stop and let that sink in. $10 million for just 96 hours of work. That breaks down to $2.5 million per day, or roughly $1,700 for every single minute Prince Harry and Meghan Markle spent on Australian soil. This morning, April 21st, 2026, a leaked financial dossier has shattered the illusion of their so-called fake royal tour. While the world watched images of hugs and handshakes,
Well, it is all over for the grifters of Oz. So long, farewell, Meghan, or just call me Meg, as she apparently likes to go by, and her spare handbag, Harry, have finally left Australia after a whirlwind circus.
The Australian Securities and Investments Commission, under subpoena number 88-2026, has officially flagged this trip as a commercial operation disguised as diplomacy. Before we dive into the ledger of this $10 million heist, hit the like button if you believe royal titles should never be for sale, and subscribe to join our deep dive investigation team. We are tracking every cent, and you need to see where this paper trail ends. The investigation reveals a chilling mechanism of profit.
Which included a taxpayer-funded walk around Sydney. The New South Wales Police dog squad were even called in for extra security. Seriously, you can't make this stuff up. A Woe Is Me microphone tour, a blink and you'll miss Meg 2-hour girls' weekend appearance.
This was not a tour. It was a high-stakes retail campaign. Documents show that the $10 million in revenue did not go to the victims of the Bondi massacre or the sick children in Melbourne. Instead, the funds were funneled through 14 different shell companies registered in Delaware, designed to obscure the trail of commissions from a fashion application called One-Off. Let us look at the timeline of the heist. Friday morning, 10:15 a.m., Bondi Beach. The site of a tragic massacre. Meghan Markle appears in a crisp white shirt, appearing to offer comfort to the survivors. But behind the scenes, the digital checkout button was already live. Within 12 minutes of the photos hitting the wires,
a cash-for-wear clothing scheme. Oh, and the grifters are set to pocket $10 million from their 4-day visit. Terrific, isn't it? Oh, but don't worry. They got their privacy. Look at this.
That $440 shirt was sold out globally through her affiliate links. Veteran broadcaster Andrew Bolt recently voiced the collective outrage, questioning how much of this was disinterested charity and how much was simply exploitation that cheapens the entire British monarchy. He noted that Meghan seems to wear 3 or 4 outfits a day, not for style, but because she is an investor and a participant in a platform where every click on her shoes, her pants, or her jewelry puts a direct cut of the proceeds into her pocket. The cold reality of the data is staggering. On Saturday, at 2:45 p.m., during a visit to a women's shelter in Melbourne, the Duchess wore a $1,200 dress and Christian Dior pumps. As she knelt to speak with women who had lost everything, her digital team was syncing those items to the One-Off app. Every hug was a sales pitch. Every tear was a marketing asset. Correspondent Danica DiGiorgio described the operation as a cash-for-ears scheme, labeling the behavior as grubby and disgusting. She pointed out that while a true royal like Catherine, the Princess of Wales, would dress down to connect with the vulnerable, Meghan chose Dior and Cartier, effectively turning a homeless shelter into a high-fashion runway for profit. By Sunday at 9 a.m., the operation moved to Monash Children's Hospital. The caring Meghan persona was in full effect, but the financial logs tell a different story. While she sat with children battling cancer, the app was processing orders for her $288 glove top and her $725 shoes. This is the money-grabbing tour exposed in its rawest form. If you find this level of monetization shocking, comment the word accountability below. We need to know if you think the British Parliament should finally strip these titles to stop the commercialization of the crown. The hypocrisy reaches its peak with the latest product launch. While the couple demands absolute privacy for their children, they are now retailing $60 candles inspired by the birth of Prince Archie. They hide their children's faces with emojis on social media to protect them, yet they use their royal titles as a brand name to sell home fragrances to the highest bidder. Kinsey Schofield recently noted the irony, pointing out that they tell the world not to post pictures of their children because it is dangerous, yet they flirt with the public's curiosity by slowly revealing parts of their children's lives to sell products. As of 10 a.m. today, the Australian authorities have intensified their scrutiny. The $10 million generated from sponsorships and fashion commissions has triggered a massive debate about whether the institution of the monarchy is being used as a personal ATM. The legal buffers that once shielded the family are thinning. Just as Prince Andrew used his status to slam doors in the faces of investigators, Harry and Meghan are using theirs to open the vault. But the deadline is approaching. By May 1st, a full transparency report is due to the Cabinet Office. The Sussex machine is running out of time, and the world is finally seeing the price tag on their compassion. Stick with us, because what we found in the Delaware filings regarding a mystery tech investor will change everything you thought you knew about who is really funding the Sussexes. To understand how a $10 million haul is possible in just 4 days, we have to look at the surgical precision of the schedule. This was not a trip planned by diplomats. It was a logistics operation designed by retail algorithms. According to the internal logs recovered from the digital servers of the one-off platform, every public appearance was timed to coincide with peak shopping hours in London and New York. The operation began while the public saw a grieving Duchess offering a tribute. The financial reality was far more clinical. Meghan Markle was wearing a white button-up shirt, identified in the system as SKU one-off-3049. As she walked across the sand, a pre-programmed activation command was sent to the app. Within seconds, the image was tagged, linked, and pushed to millions of devices. While she spoke words of comfort to the survivors, the system was processing over 2,000 global orders for that exact shirt, priced at $440. The grief was real for the victims, but for the Sussex machine, it was a high-conversion marketing event. By Saturday at 2:45 p.m., the tour moved to a women's shelter in Melbourne. This is where the Southern Hemisphere ATM truly began to overflow. The Duchess opted for a $1,200 designer dress paired with Christian Dior pumps. As she hugged vulnerable women who had escaped domestic violence, the money-grabbing mechanism reached its peak. Analysts have now confirmed that those specific images carefully framed by her private photographers triggered a surge in affiliate traffic, so intense it temporarily crashed the boutique's website. The result? An estimated $180,000 in commissions flowed into her Delaware-based accounts in just 60 minutes. It was a masterclass in using human tragedy to drive luxury sales. Sunday morning at 9 a.m. presented perhaps the most controversial chapter of this dossier. At Monash Children's Hospital, the Duchess was seen kneeling beside the beds of children battling terminal illnesses. To the naked eye, it was a moment of pure compassion. However, the leaked inventory list from this trip tells a different story. Every piece of Cartier jewelry she wore that morning, from the bracelets to the earrings, was not listed as personal property. Instead, these items were officially designated as promotional assets. In the world of high-end influence, this means the jewelry was being road-tested for future auction and brand partnership valuations. Every photo of a sick child in that room served as a high-definition catalogue background for multi-million-dollar gold and diamonds. The finale took place on Monday night at 11 p.m. at Sydney Kingsford Smith Airport. While the Australian public believed the couple was simply heading home after a job well done, the real business was being transacted in the private terminal. Intelligence sources indicate that before the wheels of their private jet left the tarmac, a signature was placed on a sponsorship contract worth an additional $2.2 million. This deal, tied to her future personal projects and lifestyle brand, was the direct result of the media metrics generated during the previous 72 hours. They didn't just visit Australia. They harvested it. They turned a nation's hospitality into a data set and its tragedies into a revenue stream. But as the sun rises on this investigation, a new question emerges. If the Australian authorities are now classifying this as a commercial venture, what does that mean for the tax-exempt status of their charitable foundations? The paper trail is leading us toward an offshore account that neither Harry nor Meghan wanted the public to find, involving a tech billionaire who might be pulling the strings behind the entire Sussex brand. The deeper we dig, the more we realize that the $10 million was just the beginning. To the untrained eye, these appearances look like standard charitable engagements. To a digital marketing architect, however, they represent a highly sophisticated conversion funnel. This is the Sussex machine decoded, a three-step process designed to turn centuries of royal tradition into a high-speed retail engine. By analyzing the data logs from this morning, April 21st, 2026, we can finally see how the royal affiliate mechanism operates with cold, mathematical precision. The first step is what analysts call strategic backdrop selection. The choice of locations like the Monash Children's Hospital or the Melbourne Women's Shelter is not merely about philanthropy. In the attention economy, high-stakes emotional environments act as the ultimate multiplier for viral content. There is a direct correlation between the sensitivity of a location and the speed at which an image travels across social media. When the Duchess is photographed in a moment of apparent vulnerability or deep empathy, the trust factor of the viewer spikes. This emotional leverage is the trigger that prepares the audience for the next phase of the transaction. By choosing the most sensitive backdrops, they ensure that the Sussex brand remains at the top of every global newsfeed, maximizing the reach of the embedded retail links. The second step is the synchronization phase. This is where the technology outpaces traditional journalism. Unlike the standard royal pool of photographers who distribute images to the press at a measured pace, Harry and Meghan utilize a private content team. Data forensics show that high-definition photos are captured, edited in real time, and uploaded to the servers of the one-off shopping platform within exactly 120 seconds of the couple arriving at a venue. This 2-minute window is critical. It ensures that by the time you see the breaking news alert on your phone, the metadata for every item of clothing, every piece of jewelry, and every accessory is already live and searchable. It is a seamless bridge between a news event and a shopping opportunity, synchronized to capture the viewer at the peak of their emotional engagement. The final step is the checkout button integration. This is the moment the royal becomes the retailer. The mechanism relies on a psychological shortcut. The viewer sees a gesture of kindness, connects it to the aesthetic of the Duchess, and is immediately provided with a direct path to purchase. There is no need to search for the brand or the price. The link is served directly to the user's device through affiliate tracking codes. Meghan Markle receives a direct percentage, a commission for every single transaction, whether it is a $440 shirt or a $725 pair of shoes. The Sussex title functions as a global promo code that never expires. The consequence of this mechanism is the total commercialization of the British monarchy. The title of Duke or Duchess, once a symbol of public service and constitutional duty, has been repurposed into a sophisticated marketing tool. It is monarchy as a service. As we look closer at the Delaware filings, a troubling pattern emerges regarding the Prince Archie candles and the upcoming lifestyle brand. The mechanism used in Australia was a proof of concept for a much larger global rollout. But as the British Cabinet Office reviews the legality of using state-protected titles for private affiliate income, a major conflict is brewing. If the Sussex name is now a commercial trademark rather than a royal honour, can the Crown legally allow it to continue? The answer may lie in a secret memorandum currently circulating in London, one that suggests the price for keeping these titles might be higher than Harry and Meghan ever anticipated. As of this morning, April 21st, 2026, the atmosphere in London has shifted from quiet frustration to a full-scale constitutional rebellion. This is no longer just a debate on social media, it has become a quantified crisis for the British monarchy. New polling data released today reveals that a staggering 61% of British citizens have now signed a formal petition demanding the immediate and total stripping of the Sussex titles. The reason cited in the petition is clear: systematic profiteering and the calculated commodification of the crown. This isn't just public opinion, it is a legal trap that is beginning to close. Legal scholars are pointing toward a dormant but powerful piece of legislation. Section 4 of the Titles, Deprivation Act of 1917. This specific provision outlines that titles can be removed if they are used for commercial purposes that cause grievous harm to the dignity and reputation of the sovereign. Until now, this act was a relic of the First World War, but the $10 million Australian dossier has provided the exact evidence needed to trigger it. The pressure has moved into the highest corridors of power. The United Kingdom's Cabinet Office has officially stepped in, issuing what sources describe as a final ultimatum to the Duke and Duchess. They have been given a hard deadline of May 1st, 2026, to provide a full, line-by-line accounting of the $10 million generated during the Australian tour. The government is no longer asking. They are demanding to know if public-funded security and royal status were used as the primary engine for private affiliate commissions. If the explanation is deemed insufficient, the Cabinet Office has the authority to recommend a parliamentary vote that could end their royal status forever. But the authority ladder doesn't stop at financial audits. It extends to a deep-seated moral indignation that is vibrating through the public. The irony is inescapable. For years, Harry has fought high-profile legal battles in the name of protecting his family's privacy. Yet, today, that same family name is being sold at a retail price point. The latest evidence in the dossier reveals the launch of a lifestyle product that has left even their most loyal supporters stunned. A $60 luxury candle branded under the name of Prince Archie. This is where the mask of the humanitarian truly slips. They have built a fortress around their children's faces to prevent the public from seeing them for free, while simultaneously trademarking their son's royal title to sell home fragrances. It is a brilliant, if cold, business strategy. Create a vacuum of information to drive up the value of the brand, then sell that brand back to the public, piece by piece. One commentator described this as selling off the public trust like a plot of real estate. They aren't protecting a minor, they are managing a high-value intellectual property. The Prince Archie candle isn't just a product, it's a symptom of a much larger rot. It represents the transition from a life of service to a life of lifestyle management. While the British public deals with a cost of living crisis, the Sussexes are asking them to pay $60 for a regal wick inspired by a child they've never met. This disconnect has created a dangerous precedent. If a royal title can be used to sell a candle or a dress on an app, then the title itself loses its sacred status. It becomes just another logo, like a designer handbag or a fast food franchise. The ticking clock toward May 1st is not just a deadline for a financial report, it is a countdown to the potential end of the Sussex brand as we know it. But as the Cabinet Office prepares its next move, a new shadow has emerged over the investigation. The secret role of the Royal Shield, a legal maneuver used by another disgraced prince, that Harry and Meghan are now reportedly attempting to copy. The question everyone is asking on this Tuesday morning, April 21st, 2026, is simple. How? How can a couple generate $10 million in private profit while on a quasi-official tour and remain seemingly untouchable by the law? The answer lies in a controversial legal strategy known as the Royal Shield, a precedent that was not created by the Sussexes, but by another disgraced member of the family, Prince Andrew. To understand why the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, ASIC, is currently hitting a brick wall, we have to look at how royal titles function as a legal airbag. In a recent briefing, investigators noted that whenever they move to subpoena the financial records of the 14 Delaware shell companies, they are met with a sophisticated wall of diplomatic resistance. Harry and Meghan are not just private citizens, they are internationally protected persons under the 1973 Convention. This status provides a layer of immunity that effectively slams the door in the face of standard financial audits. This is the Andrew precedent. We saw it play out when the Duke of York turned down multiple requests from the FBI regarding the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. His royal status didn't just open doors to high society, it functioned as a defensive perimeter. As Kinsey Schofield recently observed, that same privilege tied to the institution is now being used to insulate the Sussexes from the kind of accountability most people would face in a federal investigation. When a member of the family can sidestep direct cooperation by relying on these legal buffers, it raises a terrifying question for the public. Is the title a symbol of service, or is it a get-out-of-jail-free card? However, there is a dark irony in the comparison. Prince Andrew used the royal shield to hide from the light, to evade questioning and avoid public scrutiny. Harry and Meghan have flipped the script. They are using the royal shield to protect their right to sell. They are utilizing the immunity of the crown to ensure that no one can look too closely at their commission structures, their offshore tax havens, or their secret sponsorship deals. One uses the title as a bunker, the other uses it as a private equity firm. This creates what legal experts are calling a constitutional breaking point. If the monarchy allows its titles to be used as both a shield against the law and a sword for commercial profit, the very foundation of the institution begins to crumble. We are witnessing the signature on a death warrant for the monarchy's credibility. For centuries, the trade-off for royal privilege was total transparency and a life of restricted, non-commercial duty. By breaking that contract, the Sussexes are proving that a royal title can be the ultimate unregulated asset. The tension is escalating behind the scenes at Buckingham Palace. High-level courtiers are reportedly horrified that the royal shield is being associated with a $180,000 an hour commission from a fashion app. If the government allows Harry and Meghan to cite immunity to hide their $10 million Australian haul, they effectively admit that the law does not apply to those with the right last name. But as the May 1st deadline for the Cabinet Office audit approaches, the shield is showing cracks. A group of international transparency advocates has just filed a motion to challenge the diplomatic protected person status of non-working royals who engage in for-profit retail. If this motion succeeds, the 14 Delaware shell companies will be forced to open their ledgers. What lies inside those files is rumored to be much larger than just dress commissions. There is a shadow investor, a third party, who funded the entire Australian operation and is currently reaping 50% of the rewards. The identity of this investor is the final piece of the puzzle, and it leads directly back to a Silicon Valley boardroom that has been trying to buy influence in the UK Parliament for years. The shield is about to shatter, and the fallout will be global. The sun is setting on this April 21st, 2026, but for the House of Windsor, the heat is only beginning to rise. The $10 million Australian dossier has reached the desk of King Charles III, and the palace is now facing a scenario tree where every branch leads to a potential constitutional crisis. This is no longer about family dynamics. It is about the survival of an institution in the age of digital capitalism. The first path, which analysts give a 40% probability, is the silence of the crown. In this scenario, King Charles continues his policy of non-confrontation, hoping the controversy will fade. But the data suggests otherwise. Public outrage in the United Kingdom is reaching a fever pitch, and with a general election on the horizon, the Sussex problem is becoming a political weapon. If the king remains silent while his titles are used to sell $60 candles and $400 shirts, the very existence of the monarchy could be put to a national referendum. This is the bad scenario, where a failure to act today leads to the collapse of the throne tomorrow. The second path, with a 30% probability, is the half measure. This involves a surgical strike to their branding, stripping the word royal from all their ventures, but allowing them to keep the Sussex titles. However, experts warn this would be a futile gesture. The Sussex name has already been successfully transformed into a global retail trademark. Removing HRH does not stop the affiliate links or the Prince Archie product lines. It is a PR band-aid on a massive financial bullet wound, and it would likely only embolden the couple to lean harder into their celebrity status. The third, and perhaps most realistic scenario at 30%, is the financial freeze. Intelligence from the Cabinet Office suggests that the British and Australian governments are currently discussing a coordinated legal strike. Instead of a messy public battle over titles, they may move to freeze the assets of the Sussex brand. By classifying the $10 million from the Australian tour as unregulated state income, Authorities could block the flow of affiliate commissions from the one-off app into the Delaware shell companies. This hits the Sussexes where it matters most. Their liquidity. It sends a clear message that the Crown is not a private equity firm, and its titles cannot be used as a tax-free sales engine. But as we conclude this investigation, a new and darker piece of evidence has just surfaced from the Australian Securities and Investments Commission. While the $10 million in retail profit is shocking, it is only the tip of the iceberg. A hidden entry in the ledger has revealed a secret, one-time payment of $5 million made directly to a trust controlled by Meghan Markle. The source of this money? A Silicon Valley tech billionaire who is the silent majority shareholder behind the one-off platform. Why would a tech titan pay $5 million for a duchess to visit a children's hospital? What was he buying? We have just obtained the full list of shareholders and the private communications between the Sussexes and this mystery investor. The data suggests that the money-grabbing tour wasn't just about selling clothes, it was about selling access to the highest levels of the British establishment. If you want to see the names on that shareholder list and find out what was really being discussed in those private Sydney meetings, you cannot afford to miss our next report. Hit the subscribe button and turn on all notifications now. The Sussex machine is more complex than anyone imagined, and the truth about who is truly pulling the strings will be revealed tomorrow at 8 p.m. Like this video to show you demand transparency from the Crown, and comment Shadow Investor below if you are ready for the next chapter of this investigation. The vault is opening, and the fallout will be global. 8:45 a.m. Monday, April 20th, 2026. While the world is waking up to the spring sun over London, a leaked internal memo from the British Home Office has just sent shockwaves through the constitutional foundations of the monarchy. The digital file belonging to James Mountbatten Windsor, the 18-year-old son of Prince Edward, has been officially stamped with a single, chilling word: inactive. This is not a technical error. This is a deliberate, legal decapitation of a royal legacy that has been centuries in the making. Welcome to the investigation into what is being called the Room 1844 Ultimatum. To understand why this is happening now, you have to look past the official birthday portraits and the public smiles. You have to look at the 3-hour closed-door session that took place at Buckingham Palace late last night. Sources close to the College of Arms confirm that King Charles III convened an emergency meeting with the most senior legal minds in the kingdom. The location was Room 1844, the most historic and significant audience room in the palace, usually reserved for the most important heads of state. But last night, the only agenda was the future of one young man who just turned 18 in December 2025. The reports coming out of that meeting are staggering. While the public believed Prince Edward had finally secured his father's legacy by becoming the Duke of Edinburgh in March 2023, the fine print of that appointment has just been activated like a legal time bomb. According to witnesses within the Crown Office, the King was presented with a final draft of the succession structure for the Edinburgh title. He reportedly looked at his advisors and stated, in a voice described as clinical and unwavering, that the line stops here. He was heard saying, quote, "We are building an institution for the next century, not a museum for the last one," end quote. What does that mean for James? It means that, as of this morning, the hereditary line that everyone assumed would continue from Prince Edward to his son has been effectively severed. This is the ultimate slimmed-down monarchy move that no one saw coming in its full, brutal reality. Before we dive deeper into the secret mechanism Charles used to pull this off, I need you to do something. If you want the truth behind the palace walls that the mainstream media is too afraid to report, hit that like button right now and subscribe to the channel. It tells us you want more of these deep dive investigative dossiers. Also, comment below with the word royal if you are watching this as breaking news on April 20th. It helps us track how fast this story is spreading. Now, let's talk about the how it works of this royal trap. To understand the James Mountbatten Windsor situation, you have to understand the difference between a hereditary peerage and a life peerage. When King Charles granted his brother Edward the title of Duke of Edinburgh on March 10, 2023, he didn't give it to him in the traditional way. He used a specific, rare legal instrument called a life peerage. In the world of constitutional law, a life peerage is a dead end. It is a title that is held by one person for their lifetime, and their lifetime only. The moment Prince Edward takes his last breath, the title of Duke of Edinburgh does not pass to James. It does not stay in the family. Instead, it vanishes. It returns to the crown. It becomes a ghost title, waiting for the king to decide who gets it next. For 27 years, Edward and Sophie believed they were protecting their children by raising them as private citizens, with the option to choose their path at 18. But the trap was set years ago. When James turned 18 in December 2025, he didn't just become an adult. He triggered a prearranged legal status. By not actively claiming the title of His Royal Highness, Prince James, a right he technically holds under the Letters Patent of 1917, he allowed the palace to move him into the inactive category. Imagine the scene inside Bagshot Park this morning. Prince Edward and Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, facing the reality that their son will never hold the title his grandfather, Prince Philip, carried for 7 decades. High-level insiders suggest that Prince William was not just a bystander in this decision. He was a primary architect. The strategy is clear. Every title that can be reclaimed by the crown must be reclaimed, to be redistributed to the core line, specifically to Princess Charlotte in the future. This is where the shock turns into a constitutional crisis. The legal team representing the Duke of Edinburgh is reportedly reviewing the 1999 marriage agreement. They are looking for a loophole, a promise made by the late Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip that might override Charles's current directive. But the Crown Office is immovable. Their position is that the King's word is the final law on the granting of peerages. As of this hour, 10 a.m. London time, James remains the Earl of Wessex, but that is a hereditary title from a different line. He is a young man caught between two worlds, the ancient tradition of his father and the cold, modern efficiency of his uncle. What was the exact moment the relationship between the king and his youngest brother hit the breaking point? And what did Princess Anne say when she found out her nephew was being sidelined in the legal records? The answers lie in the second half of our investigation, where we uncover the Charlotte Clause and the secret financial settlements being offered to buy the silence of the Wessex family. Don't go anywhere. The next piece of this puzzle is even more explosive. Click the video on your screen now to see the secret reaction of Prince William and why Catherine is being called the silent enforcer of this new royal order. You won't believe what the lawyers found in the 1917 archives. Click now. To truly understand why the legal memo leaked this morning is so explosive, we have to look at the scoreboard. This was never a simple matter of family tradition. It was a 27-year strategic chess match played in the shadows of the palace. Every move was calculated. Every delay was intentional. The first move on the board took place on June 19, 1999, at St. George's Chapel. While the cameras captured a joyful royal wedding, constitutional experts were reeling in shock. Prince Edward, the son of the sovereign, was created the Earl of Wessex. For the first time in modern history, the son of a monarch was effectively downgraded, receiving a lower-ranking title than his older brothers. At the time, the palace called it a personal choice, but in reality, it was the first brick in the wall. The immediate consequence was a shift in the hierarchy that signaled Edward's line was being moved to the periphery. Fast forward to April 9, 2021. The world mourned the death of Prince Philip at Windsor Castle. But behind the grief, a cold legal reality was taking shape. Upon Philip's passing, the title of Duke of Edinburgh did not go to Edward. It passed automatically to the eldest son, the then Prince Charles. This was the moment the waiting game began. Edward was left in a state of professional and social limbo, performing the duties associated with his father's awards without the status to match. Insiders at the time reported that Edward's office was frustrated, but they were told to wait. The board changed again on September 8, 2022, at Balmoral. With the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, the title of Duke of Edinburgh merged with the Crown. This is a critical legal junction. It meant that the title effectively ceased to exist as a separate entity and became a tool in the hands of the new king. Charles now held total authority over the name Edinburgh. He wasn't just a brother anymore. He was the sole arbiter of his family's legacy. Then came the gift with strings on March 10, 2023. On Edward's 59th birthday, the announcement finally came from Buckingham Palace. He was the new Duke of Edinburgh, but the celebratory headlines missed the fine print. Charles had granted it as a life peerage. This was the masterstroke. By making it a life-only title, Charles ensured that James was officially and legally bypassed. The most prestigious title in their branch of the family was now a dead end. The silent trigger was pulled just months ago, on December 17, 2025, at Bagshot Park. As James, the Earl of Wessex, celebrated his 18th birthday, the world watched for any sign that he would claim his legal right to be called His Royal Highness Prince James. The silence was absolute. According to constitutional observers, that silence acted as a legal freeze. By not activating his royal status at the moment of his majority, James allowed the palace to move his file into the inactive category. Which brings us to today, April 20th, 2026. The tension has finally breached the palace walls. We have confirmed that Edward's personal legal team has spent the last 48 hours at their London offices, meticulously ras-swat, reviewing the overlapping clauses of the 1999 marriage contract and the 2023 grant. The friction between the king's vision of a streamlined monarchy and Edward's desire for family continuity has reached a breaking point. Why was Charles so insistent on making this a life-only title? Why was he willing to risk a rift with his youngest brother to ensure James would never be a duke? The answer isn't about what happened in the past. It's about a secret plan for the next person in line. A plan that involves a specific member of the younger generation who is already being prepared for the Edinburgh mantle. The shadow of another royal is looming over this entire legal battle, and the identity of that person changes everything. To the casual observer, it looks like a promotion. Prince Edward is finally the Duke of Edinburgh, standing where his father once stood. But in the world of high-stakes royal constitutionalism, Edward hasn't been promoted. He has been boxed in. While Edward holds the prestige today, his son James has been left with a legal inheritance of zero. How did King Charles III execute this without a single public protest? It comes down to a ruthless, three-step mechanical process that has effectively rewritten the future of the Wessex line. Step 1 is the status conversion. In the vast majority of royal history, a dukedom is a hereditary peerage. It is designed to be a permanent family asset, passing from father to son until the line dies out. However, Charles chose to activate a rare alternative, the life peerage. By specifically wording the appointment as a life peerage on March 10, 2023, the king fundamentally changed the DNA of the title. He ensured it was a temporary loan, not a family heirloom. Step 2 is the severing of the inheritance. Under the strict laws of the British peerage, a life peerage contains a suicide clause for the title itself. The moment the holder passes away, the title does not move down the family tree. It performs a legal U-turn. It returns to the crown immediately. This creates what lawyers call a succession void. James, the Earl of Wessex, will wake up the day after his father's future funeral to find that the Dukedom of Edinburgh has simply vanished from his reach. It becomes as if it were never his to begin with. Step 3 is the reassignment. This is the most controversial part of the plan. Once the title returns to the crown, it becomes a clean slate. The king at that point, likely William, can then gift it to a completely different person. Insider reports from the heart of the palace suggest that this was never about Edward at all. It was about Princess Charlotte. By ensuring James cannot inherit, Charles has reserved the title of Edinburgh for William's daughter, allowing her to become the Duchess of Edinburgh in her own right, keeping the most senior titles concentrated within the direct line of the throne. The reactions within the family to this mechanical stripping of James's future have been sharply divided. Prince William and Catherine are reportedly in absolute support of this strategy. For the Prince and Princess of Wales, this is a matter of survival for a modern monarchy. They see it as essential that Charlotte has a senior, independent status that doesn't rely on her brothers. To them, Edinburgh is the perfect anchor title to keep Charlotte within the core of the royal firm, but not everyone is silent. Princess Anne, known as the Iron Princess, and a staunch defender of their father's legacy, has reportedly held several heated discussions with the king regarding this arrangement. Sources close to the Princess Royal suggest she views this as a betrayal of Prince Philip's explicit final wishes. To Anne, the Duke of Edinburgh title was meant to be a permanent branch of the family, a reward for Edward's decades of loyalty. She reportedly sees the life peerage trick as a cold-blooded administrative move that sacrifices family loyalty for the sake of a slimmed-down PR image. The atmosphere at the most recent family gathering at Windsor was described as brittle. While the public sees a united front, the legal machinery is grinding away in the background. But there is one thing even the king's lawyers might have overlooked. Deep in the archives, a specific document from 1917 holds a secret about James's true status, a status that he hasn't used yet, but one that could blow this entire life peerage plan wide open. If James decides to speak, the king's three-step plan might just hit a legal wall that no one anticipated. While the king's lawyers have successfully bottled up the Edinburgh dukedom, they are currently staring down a much older, much more dangerous ghost in the legal machine. It is known as the Letters Patent of 1917. To the average person, it is a dusty piece of history. To the palace, it is a legal nuclear weapon currently sitting in the hands of an 18-year-old boy. Here is the shocking truth that the palace PR machine has tried to bury under layers of lifestyle reporting. James, the Earl of Wessex, is not waiting to become a prince. Under the laws established by King George V over a century ago, James is at this very second His Royal Highness Prince James of Edinburgh. The law states that all grandchildren of the monarch in the male line are entitled to this style and title. It is not a gift to be given by the king. It is an inherent birthright that exists automatically the moment the child is born. When Edward and Sophie announced in 1999 that their children would not use these titles, the public assumed the titles were gone. But you cannot simply wish away a constitutional decree. The legal reality is that the title is not gone. It is merely dormant. It is like a loaded weapon with the safety catch on. This creates a terrifying scenario for the slimmed-down monarchy vision of King Charles III. The king's entire 20-year PR strategy relies on the public believing that the royal family is shrinking, becoming smaller, cheaper, and more distant. But if James decides tomorrow to update his passport to reflect his legal status as His Royal Highness, the entire project collapses. He would become a working-age prince with a rank equal to Prince William's children, effectively undoing years of carefully managed public perception. The tension behind the scenes is reaching a fever pitch. We have obtained details of a confidential briefing note from the College of Arms, dated January 2026. This memo, circulating among high-level diplomatic staff, contains a specific and highly unusual instruction for all future state functions. It orders officials to record, but not acknowledge the HRH status of the Wessex children in official seating charts and internal registries. In plain English? The government knows James is a prince. The law knows James is a prince. But they have been ordered to act as if he isn't, hoping that the young man never decides to exercise his legal right. But why would he? This is the question haunting the halls of Buckingham Palace today, April 20th, 2026. James has just reached the age of majority. He is no longer a child under his parents' protection. He is a legal entity with his own counsel. If James feels that his father has been disrespected by the life peerage trap, or if he feels his grandfather's legacy is being erased, he has the ultimate tool for a counterstrike. If James were to activate his HRH status before he marries, it would force the crown to recognize him in a way that disrupts the entire succession narrative. It would be the ultimate act of royal rebellion, not one fought with interviews or memoirs, but with the cold, hard weight of 100-year-old law that the king cannot delete. Palace lawyers are reportedly working night and day to ensure James remains content with his current status. But how do you keep a young man from claiming his birthright when he sees his cousins and his sister being pushed further and further from the center of power? The legal architecture is built, the precedent is clear, and the fuse is lit. The only question now is, what happens when the king's vision of the future crashes into the laws of the past? As we look beyond the legal skirmishes of today, April 20th, 2026, we find ourselves at a crossroads. The chess pieces have been moved, the life peerage trap has been set, and the 1917 letters patent remain a live wire in the background. But where does this path actually lead? Constitutional analysts and palace insiders are currently weighing three distinct scenarios for the next decade: one that leads to chaos, one to silence, and one that reveals the true master plan of the House of Windsor. Scenario 1 is being called the chaos contingency. In this version of the future, James, the Earl of Wessex, decides that being sidelined is no longer acceptable, perhaps driven by a sense of duty to his grandfather's memory, or perhaps feeling the cold shoulder from the central line of the family. James activates his birthright. He formally adopts the style of His Royal Highness Prince James of Edinburgh. This would create a tectonic shift in royal legal precedent. It would force the crown to recognize a prince who is not part of the king's slimmed-down inner circle. The immediate result would be a public and permanent rift between the House of Wessex and the House of Wales. We would see a shadow monarchy, a branch of the family with all the rank, but none of the official patronage, creating a PR nightmare for Prince William when he eventually takes the throne. Scenario 2 is the status quo, or the quiet fade. This is the path of least resistance. Prince Edward continues his tireless work for the Duke of Edinburgh's awards scheme well into his 80s. James remains a private citizen, perhaps building a career in the tech or financial sectors of London, using his title only as a historical curiosity. In this scenario, the Dukedom of Edinburgh simply evaporates the moment Edward passes away. It is a slow, dignified exit for this branch of the family, leaving James as a wealthy, high-ranking noble, but one who has no official role in the future of the British state. However, there is a third scenario, the one that insiders believe is the real reason for every legal move we have seen since 2023. It is being whispered about in the corridors of power as the Charlotte Shift. Under this most likely plan, King Charles and Prince William have already reached a secret, binding agreement. When Prince Edward eventually passes, the title of Duke of Edinburgh will return to the crown and remain dormant for a period of 5 to 10 years. This cooling-off period is designed to prevent the appearance of a land grab and to show respect for Edward's legacy. Then, at the perfect strategic moment, perhaps on her 21st birthday or her wedding day, the title will be recreated and granted to Princess Charlotte. The logic behind the Charlotte Shift is purely clinical. In a modern, media-driven world, Charlotte is the ultimate PR asset. She represents the direct line of succession and the future of the female royal identity. By concentrating the most prestigious and historically significant titles like Edinburgh within the direct line of William's children, the crown ensures that all power titles are held by those who are most visible and most profitable for the royal brand. James is a risk. Charlotte is a guarantee. This scenario fulfills Charles's ultimate goal, a monarchy that is smaller, more focused, and entirely centralized. But this perfect future relies on one thing: the continued silence of the young man at Bagshot Park. As we move into the final chapter of our investigation, we look at the one factor no one can control: the human element. What happens to a family when the laws of the state are used to erase the inheritance of a son? The answer may lie in a secret meeting that took place just 48 hours ago. The cameras do not lie. And in the spring of 2026, they are telling a story of a deepening shadow. Those who have followed the royal calendar closely noticed a glaring anomaly during the Commonwealth Day services and the Easter commemorations of March 2026. Prince Edward and Sophie, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, once the most reliable workhorses of the institution, were conspicuously absent from the King's inner circle. This is not a matter of scheduling. This is a matter of a fundamental shift in the royal tectonic plates. Whispers are now growing louder about a classified document currently being referred to in diplomatic circles as the Bagshot Agreement. High-level sources suggest that a private summit took place at Bagshot Park between the King's private secretaries and Edward's legal advisors. The rumoured deal is as clinical as it is heartbreaking. Edward is reportedly being asked to accept the permanent downgrading of his son's future in exchange for a massive, private financial settlement from the Duchy of Lancaster, the King's personal multi-billion-pound estate. Think about the implications. If the Bagshot Agreement is real, it means that the life peerage trap we discussed was not just a legal manoeuvre, but a negotiated surrender. It suggests that Edward and Sophie have agreed to let the Edinburgh title die with them to ensure James is financially secured for a life entirely outside the royal fold. It is a professional decoupling, a quieter, more disciplined version of what we saw in 2020, but with the same ultimate result, the removal of another branch from the royal tree. Does this document truly exist? Or are we witnessing the final stages of a silent exit, one where James Mountbatten Windsor is being prepared to vanish into the private sector, far from the burden of the HRH title he is legally entitled to? The stakes could not be higher. As of today, April 20th, 2026, the actions of one 18-year-old man are the only thing standing between King Charles's vision of a concentrated monarchy and a full-scale constitutional crisis. James is no longer just a nephew or a grandson. He is a living indicator of where the crown will be in 20 years. If he stays silent, the Charlotte shift is inevitable. If he speaks, the House of Windsor faces a legal civil war. This investigation leads us to a final, difficult question. Is King Charles III a master strategist, selflessly pruning the royal family to ensure its survival in a modern world? Or is he a cold-blooded administrator, willing to trade his own nephew's birthright for a more efficient PR machine? And what about James? Should he accept the financial security of the Bagshot Agreement and disappear? Or should he stand his ground and claim the princely status that the law of 1917 says is already his? We want to hear from you. This story is evolving by the hour, and your perspective helps drive this investigation. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Strategy or betrayal? What would you do in James's position? If you found this investigative dossier valuable, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We are tracking the legal filings and the palace movements every day to bring you the stories that the official announcements try to hide. Click the notification bell so you never miss a breaking update on the Edinburgh file. The most explosive documents are often the ones they say don't exist. Stay tuned. The shadow over Bagshot Park is only beginning to lift. See you in the next investigation. Breaking today, April 22nd, 2026, we are witnessing the most significant constitutional earthquake since the abdication of 1936. But this time, the crown is digging in its heels. At exactly 9:15 this morning, a pre-recorded address from the Library of Balmoral Castle sent shockwaves through the Commonwealth. King Charles III, visibly frail but possessing a gaze of absolute steel, looked directly into the lens and declared he will not abdicate. But the real story isn't just in what he said. It is in who was standing just 5 feet away, out of the camera's frame. Intelligence from within the castle walls confirms that Prince William, the Prince of Wales, stood behind the recording equipment for the entire duration of the 6-minute and 55-second speech. This was not a moment of a father clinging to power against his son's wishes. This was a synchronized strategic maneuver. Together, Charles and William have just erected a massive constitutional firewall, a defensive barrier designed to incinerate any attempt by the Sussex brand to exploit the current power vacuum. If you are just joining us, you need to understand the gravity of this moment. This is breaking news that changes everything. If you want to stay ahead of the royal curve, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell. We are tracking this story second by second, and you do not want to miss the classified details coming up. The timing is surgically precise. Yesterday, April 21st, 2026, marked what would have been the 100th birthday of the late Queen Elizabeth II. While the world looked back at a century of service, King Charles was looking at a battle for the future of the monarchy. We have verified reports that the king made a harrowing medical decision to ensure this message was delivered. Sources close to the medical team at Sandringham confirm that Charles insisted on suspending his terminal cancer treatments for a full 10 days. He refused the heavy sedation and the grueling chemotherapy cycles just so his voice would remain clear, his mind sharp, and his authority unquestioned for this specific broadcast. One staffer reportedly overheard the king speaking to William in the corridor of the library just moments before the red light went on. The king's voice was a raspy whisper, but the intent was lethal. He reportedly told his son, quote, "It has to be today, William. It must be a blood oath. We cannot leave a single crack for them to crawl through," end quote. To which the Prince of Wales allegedly replied with a singular, firm nod, saying, quote, "The line is drawn, Pa. We finish this now," end quote. This isn't just about a father and son, it's about the Cabinet Office in London. High-level documents leaked from the Cabinet Office reveal an underground agreement between the sovereign and the heir. The memo, dated April 20th, suggests that the crown will not be passed down in a state of chaos. The mechanism is simple. Charles remains the shield, taking the brunt of the health crisis and the media scrutiny, while William acts as the sword, managing the duchy and the military. By declaring he will not abdicate, Charles has effectively locked the door to the half-in, half-out model that Harry and Meghan are currently trying to pilot in Australia. Think about the mechanics of this move. If Charles were to step down now, while he is unwell, it would trigger a period of immense vulnerability. Instead, he has committed to serving until his final breath, ensuring that the transition to King William V happens on their terms. Not as a desperate reaction to a crisis, the investigative files we are reviewing show that this Balmoral address was a direct response to the fake royal tour currently unfolding in Sydney. While Meghan Markle is reportedly seen dining with her advisor Marcus Anderson in what many call a crowded, intimate dinner for three, Charles and William were finalizing the most aggressive PR counterstrike in modern history. Why is this important for you? Because the royal hierarchy is being redefined in real time. If you find this level of deep dive analysis valuable, give this video a like and drop a comment below. Do you think Charles is right to stay on the throne despite his illness? Or is it time for William to take the lead? We want to hear your take. The stakes could not be higher. Charles has sacrificed his physical comfort, perhaps even his remaining time, to stand as a sentinel. But as the king's speech ended, a new question emerged, one that has the Sussex camp in a state of total panic. Why is this solemn oath of no abdication the only weapon capable of stripping away the final shreds of legitimacy from Harry and Meghan's operations in Australia? The answer lies in a secret clause within the 1937 Regency Act, and what we've discovered will change the way you see this entire Australian tour. We are going deeper into the Sydney shadows in just a moment. Stay tuned. To understand the volcanic eruption of events we are witnessing today, we must trace the scorched earth left behind by the timeline of the last 7 days. This is the Shadow Monarchy Protocol in action, a sequence of events that forced King Charles and Prince William to activate the ultimate constitutional kill switch. It began on April 15, 2026, in Sydney. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex touched down for what was billed as a women's wellness retreat, but intelligence from the ground immediately flagged it as a guerrilla royal tour. The most jarring detail wasn't the private jet or the security detail, but the presence of Marcus Anderson. Often described as the architect of the Sussex brand, Anderson was seen in almost every intimate frame, creating what royal behaviorists call a crowded dynamic. Reports from the Intercontinental at Coogee Beach described a trio that felt more like a business syndicate than a family. Harry appeared increasingly disconnected, a man walking 2 steps behind his wife and her advisor, his face a mask of irritation, while Meghan and Anderson whispered over what appeared to be commercial strategy documents. The friction reached a breaking point on April 18th in Melbourne. This was the moment the merching scandal went viral. Meghan appeared at a site meant to honour victims of a recent local tragedy, yet within minutes of her arrival, the AI-driven fashion platform One-Off was updated with direct purchase links for her entire outfit. The optics were catastrophic. To the public, it appeared the Sussexes were using a site of mourning as a runway for a California-based startup. Harry was captured on camera, looking viscerally uncomfortable, seemingly emasculated by the relentless commercialization of his royal bloodline. The contrast between the gravity of the event and the greed of the digital storefront was the final straw for the palace in London. By April 20th, the counter-offensive began. Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, stepped out for the centenarian celebration in London. The energy was the polar opposite of the chaos in Australia. This was the gold standard. However, one specific interaction captured the world's attention. When a guest inadvertently breached protocol by touching Catherine, the princess didn't just recoil, she executed a firm, precise steel gesture, guiding the man's hands away with a smile that never reached her eyes. It was a masterclass in boundary setting. The unspoken message echoed across the Atlantic and the Pacific. The crown is not for sale, and it is not to be touched. Catherine wasn't just defending herself, she was signaling that the true monarchy is governed by discipline, not by the highest bidder. Then came the hammer blow on April 21st at Balmoral. As the King's no abdication video was broadcast, a pre-arranged administrative order was sent to every government house in Australia. By Charles declaring his lifelong commitment, he effectively severed the diplomatic umbilical cord. The Sussex tour was instantly downgraded from a royal coded mission to a private, commercial holiday. Local politicians who had been eager for a photo op suddenly realised that hosting Harry and Meghan carried zero official weight from the British sovereign. The immediate fallout has left the Sussex team in a state of paralysis. Their blueprint for the future has been incinerated by a king who refuses to step aside. But as Harry and Meghan prepare for their final flight out of Sydney, a new, darker rumour is emerging from their inner circle. What was the private ultimatum Marcus Anderson allegedly delivered to the couple just hours ago? We are digging into the financial records of the tour organisers, and what we found suggests this wasn't just a failed trip, it was a desperate attempt to bridge a massive hidden debt. The real crisis is only just beginning. The deeper we dig into the archives of the last 48 hours, the more it becomes clear that this is no longer just a family feud. We are looking at a full-scale institutional investigation into what internal sources are calling the Sussex Protocol. The central allegation is chilling. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are not merely on a vacation. They are systematically constructing a shadow monarchy within the Commonwealth, a competing royal brand designed to siphon influence and capital away from the British Crown. The evidence begins at the first level of authority, the British Foreign Office. We have obtained reports of a series of high-level diplomatic cables sent from London to Canberra. These documents, marked with urgent classification, issued a stern warning regarding the misrepresentation of national representation. According to these records, the Foreign Office became alarmed when the Sussexes began using language in their Australian itineraries that mirrored official state visits. The memo explicitly states that private citizens, regardless of their titles, have no authority to negotiate or represent the United Kingdom's interests abroad. This is the first time we have seen a government department move so aggressively to distance itself from the Duke and Duchess, suggesting that the fake royal tour has breached a significant diplomatic boundary. But the pressure isn't just coming from diplomats, it is coming from the accountants of the Metropolitan Police. In a move that has left the Sussex camp reeling, Scotland Yard is reportedly conducting a comprehensive audit of the security expenditures claimed by Prince Harry. The investigation is focused on a commercial conflict clause. If the Met Police determines that their elite protection officers were utilised to facilitate Meghan's one-off fashion merching activities or Marcus Anderson's business meetings, Harry could be held personally liable for millions in security costs. The authority of the Met Police is absolute here. They are reviewing footage from the Sydney Intercontinental and the Melbourne Morning site to see if their officers were essentially acting as bodyguards for a commercial startup. This brings us to the fracture point, the legal mechanism that explains why King Charles's refusal to abdicate is a stroke of tactical genius. Under the original Sandringham Agreement, the use of royal titles for commercial gain was strictly prohibited. Every time a purchase link is uploaded to Meghan's website within minutes of a public appearance, the fracture point is triggered. Charles is not staying on the throne out of ego, he is acting as a legal lock. According to the Regency Act of 1937, if a king is incapacitated or abdicates, a Council of State is formed to exercise royal authority. If Charles were to step down now, Harry, despite living in California, could theoretically argue for a seat on that council as one of the next in line. By King Charles renewing his solemn pledge of duty and refusing to abdicate, he effectively freezes Harry out of the constitutional hierarchy. As long as Charles is king, the Regency Act remains dormant. Charles has essentially padlocked the vault of the monarchy, ensuring that Harry never gets so much as a day as Prince Regent. The drama within the palace is reaching a fever pitch. We've learned that a special crisis committee has been formed between Buckingham Palace and the Prince of Wales's team. They are no longer just monitoring the news, they are preparing a statement of disavowal. But as the king prepares for his stopgap journey to America, a disturbing question remains. If the shadow monarchy fails to gain diplomatic recognition, what happens to the massive financial investments Marcus Anderson has reportedly secured based on the promise of royal access? The stakes have shifted from social status to survival. What was found in the organizer's bank records that has the palace lawyers working through the night? The shadow is growing, and the next revelation could be the one that finally breaks the Sussex brand forever. To the casual observer, the image of King Charles III delivering a nationwide address from Balmoral is a portrait of a man exhausted by the heavy burdens of both the crown and a grueling battle with terminal cancer. The question echoing through the halls of social media and newsrooms alike is simple. Why doesn't he just rest? Why not pass the scepter to William now? But the reality is far more complex than a father refusing to retire. What we are witnessing is the activation of the shield mechanism, a high-stakes constitutional maneuver designed to protect the very future of the monarchy from internal threats. The first layer of this mechanism is the maintenance of the vertical axis of power. In the cold language of royal succession, as long as Charles remains king, William exists as the singular, undisputed heir apparent. This creates an unbreakable line of legitimacy. By refusing to abdicate, Charles ensures there is no ambiguity about who holds the sovereign power. This vertical axis prevents the formation of competing factions within the palace. It is a strategic message to the world. The crown is a continuum, not a temporary appointment. If Charles were to step down now, it would create a moment of profound transition that could be exploited. By staying, he keeps the power concentrated at the top, leaving no room for alternative royal brands to claim a piece of the institutional authority. This leads us to the second, more urgent step. Blocking the Regency scenario. This is where the legal chess match involving Prince Harry becomes critical. Under the Regency Act of 1937, if a monarch abdicates or is declared unfit, a set of councillors of state is activated to exercise royal functions. As the king's second son, Harry still holds a theoretical legal position within this hierarchy, despite his residence in California. Internal legal briefings suggest that an abdication now could open a constitutional window for Harry to assert his rights as a senior member of the bloodline to be involved in the Council of State. Charles's vow of no abdication acts as a heavy-duty padlock on that window. By remaining on the throne, even in a diminished physical state, the king prevents the Regency Act from being fully triggered in a way that could grant Harry even a single day of formal administrative power. Charles is effectively standing in the doorway, ensuring his second son remains on the outside of the constitutional vault. The third and perhaps most selfless step of the shield mechanism is the sanitization of the legacy. King Charles understands that his reign is a bridge. He is currently absorbing the toxic fallout of the most damaging scandals in modern royal history, from the fallout of Prince Andrew's legal battles to the relentless PR war waged by the Sussexes in Australia. By staying in power, Charles acts as a legacy filter. He is taking the hits, managing the cleanup, and dealing with the unpopular decisions so that when William eventually ascends, he can do so with a sanitized, clean monarchy. The goal is for William to start his reign without the baggage of the previous generation's conflicts. Charles is doing the dirty work of the institution now, so his heir doesn't have to. The consequence of this strategy is profound. King Charles is quite literally sacrificing his final months of physical comfort to act as a living shield for the future of William's reign. He is enduring the grueling travel and the suspension of cancer treatments to ensure the shadow monarchy currently being piloted in Sydney remains exactly that, a shadow with no legal substance. But while the King and William stand united in London, the tension within the Sussex trio in Australia is reportedly reaching a boiling point. We have received new reports of a high-stakes disagreement between Harry and Marcus Anderson regarding the financial transparency of their wellness retreat. What was said behind the closed doors of their Sydney suite that has the King's advisors on high alert? The shield is holding for now, but the pressure on the other side is about to crack the surface. While the world focuses on the formal declarations from Balmoral, the cameras in Sydney have captured a much more disturbing internal collapse. The Sussex trio dynamic is no longer a secret. Witness accounts from an exclusive dinner at the Intercontinental describe a scene that felt less like a royal tour and more like a hostile corporate takeover. Prince Harry was spotted sitting in isolated silence, his jaw set in a rhythm of barely contained fury, while Meghan and Marcus Anderson were locked in an intense, whispered conversation. The man in the middle, Marcus Anderson, is being identified by insiders as the true architect of the fall. He is not just a close friend, he is the bridge to the high-stakes commercial world that Harry reportedly fears and Meghan craves. While Harry chews his food in silent resentment, Meghan and Marcus are allegedly reviewing the real-time conversion rates for the one-off platform. This is the threesome relationship that is pushing the Duke to the edge, a dynamic where the prince provides the royal luster, but the architect and the Duchess manage the commercial empire. Harry is beginning to look less like a leader and more like a passenger in his own life, emasculated by a business strategy he never fully signed up for. Meanwhile, back in the United Kingdom, the narrative that Prince William is waiting in the wings to push his father aside has been completely dismantled. Investigative reports confirm that William has executed an unprecedented maneuver. He has moved his entire elite PR and digital strategy team to Balmoral to serve the king. The no abdication address was not just the king's personal vow, it was a product engineered by the Prince of Wales's top strategists. The advice given to Charles by William's team was reportedly blunt. It must be an ultimatum, no room for interpretation, no olive branches. This is the united front that the Sussex camp never saw coming, a father and son working in total synchronicity to protect the crown's dignity. This brings us to the ultimate point of friction, the motivation behind the Australian tour. There is a lingering, toxic quote attributed to Meghan Markle during her first tour of Australia in 2018, where she reportedly remarked behind the scenes, "I can't believe I'm not getting paid for this." That sentiment has echoed through the corridors of Buckingham Palace for 8 years, becoming a symbol of the fundamental disconnect between the Sussexes and the institution. King Charles's no abdication vow is the final, ironclad response to that 2018 grievance. By staying on the throne and maintaining the lifelong commitment of the monarch, Charles is effectively telling the world and his second son that the crown is not a paycheck. It is not a tool for merching or a platform for brand building. If Meghan wanted to be paid for her time in the sun, Charles has now ensured that those payments will never come from the British sovereign. The King's message is clear. You will never have the chance to monetize this veil of service again. The retaliation is total. While Meghan tries to salvage her brand in Sydney with empty ballrooms and freebie tickets, the King and the heir have cut the cord. The financial pressure on the Sussex brand is now reaching critical levels as the costs of their 9-person team and private security continue to mount without the expected royal endorsement. But as they prepare to depart Sydney, a new document has surfaced from the tour organisers. It involves a massive unpaid invoice and a legal threat that could force Marcus Anderson into the spotlight of a public courtroom. What was the secret fee promised to the Sussexes that has now been frozen by the Australian authorities? The truth is about to be audited. As we stand at this historic crossroads on the morning of April 22nd, the dust from King Charles's Balmoral Declaration has not yet settled, but the horizon is already shifting. We have analysed the constitutional data and the geopolitical tremors, and they lead us to a scenario tree that will define the survival of the monarchy. The first path, which carries a 40% probability, is what insiders call the United Front. In this scenario, King Charles and Prince William do not just issue statements, they issue a new decree. We are looking at a potential rewrite of the letters patent. This would create a productivity clause for the line of succession, effectively stripping the titles and the right to the throne from any family member who chooses to monetize their royal status while refusing to perform official duties. This would be the definitive end of the California royalty model. By codifying this into law, Charles and William would ensure that the brand of the Sussexes is legally decoupled from the brand of the Crown forever. The second path, and currently the most likely at 50%, is the US showdown. We have confirmed that the King's decision to pause his cancer treatment to fly to America next week is not merely a diplomatic state visit. This is a legal maneuvers mission. Reliable sources suggest that Charles is meeting with high-level American officials and potentially Donald Trump to sign a bilateral asset protection agreement. The goal? To shield the private royal estates and the Duchy of Cornwall from foreign litigation. For years, Prince Harry has hinted at legal challenges regarding his inheritance and security. This trip to the United States is Charles's way of ensuring that Harry's lawyers find the vault doors slammed shut on American soil. It is a sovereign immunity strike, executed in the heart of Washington. The third, and most volatile path, with a 10% probability, is the sudden silence. This scenario sees the Australian tour collapse in real time, with the news breaking that the tour organizer, Gemma, is facing a $500,000 tax investigation by the Australian government. The Sussexes may be forced into an emergency exit. If the Her Best Life event is declared a financial fraud, Harry and Meghan will be forced to flee Sydney in total silence to avoid being deposed by local authorities. This would be the reputational kill shot that finally ends their global touring ambitions. What do you think is the most realistic outcome for the monarchy? Are you on the side of the United Front, or do you think the US showdown is the only way to settle this once and for all? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It's the best way to support our independent investigative reporting and keep the truth from being buried. But as we close this file, we have to look at the most haunting detail of all. Royal cryptologists have been reviewing the final seconds of King Charles's Balmoral address. When he whispered the words "Darling Mama," his voice didn't just crack with emotion, it shifted into a specific, formal cadence. Experts believe this was a verbal trigger for Phase 2 of Operation Menai Bridge. This is no longer just a funeral plan, it is a transition protocol. A high-level leak from Street, James's Palace has confirmed that, quote, the Crown has chosen its side, and more than one person is about to be deleted from the record, end quote. Prince William is reportedly holding a secret agreement to documents signed in 2022 that Harry was never supposed to see. What is inside that envelope that has the power to change the line of succession tonight? We are chasing the lead right now. Stay tuned to Outspoken. The truth is coming. It is 0800 hours on Monday, April 20th, 2026. A diplomatic shockwave has just breached the stone walls of Windsor Castle, and the repercussions are tearing through the global headlines as we speak. We are looking at what insiders call the Iron Curtain Protocol, a direct, legal, and permanent severance of Prince Harry from the British royal family. But this is not just another sibling rivalry. This is a calculated, strategic move by Prince William, triggered by a secret handwritten note from the late Queen Elizabeth II that has only now been brought to light. For years, the public believed the late monarch was merely disappointed, but according to explosive new evidence found in the private archives of biographer Robert Hardman, the Queen's assessment was far more clinical and devastating. She didn't see a granddaughter-in-law, she saw a risk. Multiple high-level palace sources are now confirming that the Queen explicitly used the term narcissist to describe Meghan Markle during a private consultation with her most trusted advisors. This was not a casual insult. In the world of constitutional monarchy, this was a risk identification. The Queen, who had navigated the egos of thousands of world leaders, recognized the signs of a personality type that would eventually attempt to dismantle the 1,000-year-old institution from within. If you are finding this investigation into the royal inner circle gripping, take 1 second to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. It is the best way to ensure you never miss these breaking historical dossiers. Leave a comment below with the word security if you believe William is right to protect the throne at all costs. To understand the intensity of the current 2026 restraining order, we must look at the specific moment the mechanism of trust shattered. It is known as Tiara Gate, but the reality is much darker than a dispute over jewelry. Picture the scene. Windsor Castle, early morning, May 2018. Prince Harry is on the phone, his voice echoing through the corridors of the Royal Collection Trust. He is demanding immediate access to the Queen Mary Diamond Bandeau for a hair rehearsal. The voiceover account of this confrontation is chilling. Harry reportedly yelled at the Queen's personal dresser, Angela Kelly, shouting, "What Meghan wants, Meghan gets." But the response from the late Queen was a verbal slap that still resonates today. When the report reached her private study, she did not raise her voice. She looked at Harry with a cold, unwavering stare and stated, "Harry, she will wear what she is given. This is not a toy. This is not a toy." Those 5 words were the Queen's final verdict on the Sussexes' approach to the monarchy. She realized they viewed the crown as a plaything for their own global brand. This incident triggered Protocol 27, an internal red alert that moved Harry and Meghan from the inner circle to the security risk list. Fast forward to January 2026. Prince William is now the primary decision-maker as King Charles focuses on his health battle. William has analysed the authority ladder of Harry's legal disasters. He has seen the High Court records where witness Glenn Mulcair admitted that Harry's legal team pre-drafted statements to fit a convenient narrative. William's logic is simple. If they can manipulate the courts, they can manipulate the crown. The mechanism of exclusion is now in full effect. It works in 3 distinct steps. Step 1. The total cutting of financial and security ties, which was completed in 2025. Step 2. The line of succession review, currently under debate in the House of Lords. Step 3. The restraining order. This is not a suggestion, it is a legal boundary. Prince Harry is now flagged by the Royalty and VIP Protection Committee, known as REVEC, as a Level 2 security threat due to his unpredictable nature and history of leaking private royal locations. The contrast between the 2 brothers could not be more stark. While Meghan was demanding access to priceless crown jewels, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, was famously using a £5 plastic tiara from a high street accessory shop for her own rehearsals. One was preparing for service, the other was preparing for a performance. But here is the breaking twist that has the palace on edge this morning. As William prepares to finalise the legal severance, a new name has appeared on the witness list at the High Court. A former security officer who served Catherine for over a decade has come forward with a smoking gun document. This document supposedly proves that the 2019 birth of Archie was the centre of a deliberate misinformation campaign that even lied to the Metropolitan Police. Why would a £5 plastic tiara be the final piece of evidence that convinces William to banish his brother forever in 2026? The answer lies in a secret recording that was never supposed to leave the Sussex's basement in Montecito. Stay tuned for the next dossier as we reveal the contents of that tape. To understand why the Iron Curtain is dropping across the House of Windsor this morning, we must follow the breadcrumb trail of a psychological war that began 8 years ago. This is not a sudden frost. It is the final result of a meticulously documented history of manipulation. Looking back from our current vantage point in April 2026, the patterns are impossible to ignore. The first major crack appeared in May 2018, just days before the royal wedding. While the world saw a fairy tale, the staff at Kensington Palace were enduring what witnesses describe as a telephonic assault. Prince Harry was making a series of high-pressure, aggressive phone calls to Angela Kelly, the Queen's most loyal jewellery curator. Harry wasn't just asking for a tiara, he was attempting to bypass established security protocols. Insiders recount a prince who had become unrecognisable, fueled by a sense of entitlement that put him at odds with the very people who had served his family for decades. This was the moment the Sussex playbook was first identified: demand, pressure, and then play the victim when the rules are enforced. 1 year later, on May 6, 2019, the manipulation moved from palace corridors to national security. The birth of Archie at Portland Hospital should have been a moment of unity. Instead, it became a strategic deception. The Metropolitan Police had spent months coordinating a high-security media plan to ensure public safety. However, the couple made a clandestine move. They returned home and only then informed the palace to release a statement saying Meghan had just gone into labour. The police felt blindsided. High-ranking officers reportedly accused the palace of lying to them. Security teams realised that for the Sussexes, personal PR agendas were more important than the operational safety of the Metropolitan Police. The realisation of this long-term strategy hit the late Queen Elizabeth during the Sandringham Summit in January 2020. She saw through the half-in, half-out proposal. It wasn't a compromise, it was a Trojan horse. Documents reviewed since then suggest the move to California had been planned months before they ever spoke to the Queen. The monarch recognised that her grandson was no longer a working royal, but a participant in a plan she didn't authorise. By September 2024, the clinical nature of this manipulation was finally given a name. Biographer Robert Hardman published the LAX Dossier, revealing that senior royals had long ago transitioned from seeing the conflict as a family feud to viewing it as a psychological threat. Prince William, in particular, began using specific clinical terms in high-level meetings to describe the risks posed by his brother. He stopped referring to Harry and started referring to the security liability. This led us to February 10, 2026, at Adelaide Cottage. In a move that signalled the end of any hope for reconciliation, William and Catherine officially sealed all personal channels. Every encrypted message, every email, and every letter from Montecito was diverted to a specialised legal team. No personal contact, no emotional leverage. The personal was dead. Only the legal remained. Which brings us to today, April 20th, 2026. The Iron Curtain is not just a metaphor, it is a protective shield forged from 8 years of documented betrayals and systemic deceptions. As the restraining order is prepared, we have to wonder, What exactly was in those diverted messages from February that convinced William he could never let his brother near Catherine or the children again? The timeline suggests that Harry's final attempt to re-enter the fold contained a detail so explosive that the palace had no choice but to treat it as a hostile act. We are digging into those specific legal filings next. The Iron Curtain Protocol, currently being enforced by Prince William, is not built on emotion, but on a mountain of institutional evidence. To understand the gravity of the 2026 severance, we have to climb what legal analysts call the authority ladder, the hierarchy of official records that have turned a family dispute into a matter of national security. At the base of this ladder lies a document that was never intended for public eyes. The official operational diaries of Angela Kelly. As the curator for the Royal Collection Trust, Kelly's logs provide a minute-by-minute account of the Tiaragate incident. These records do not describe a simple disagreement over fashion. They document a systemic attempt to bypass the security protocols of the Royal Collection. Trust the entity responsible for some of the most valuable historical artifacts in the world. The Trust's internal reports reveal a stark, neo-realistic contrast in character that has now become a cornerstone of William's legal argument. While Meghan Markle was reportedly making aggressive demands for the Queen Mary Diamond Bandeau for a mere hair rehearsal, forcing staff to break protocol during the busy Easter court, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, was operating under a completely different set of ethics. Internal household logs confirm that during the preparations for her own wedding to William, Catherine practiced her hair rehearsals using a £5 plastic tiara from Claire's Accessories. This detail is not just a point of trivia, it is being used by William's legal team as a proof of service ethics versus celebrity entitlement. It demonstrates a fundamental understanding of the Crown's assets as public trust versus personal toys. Further up the authority ladder are the operation reports from the Metropolitan Police's Special Operations Branch regarding the birth of Archie in 2019. These are not tabloid stories. They are classified security briefings. The reports document a communication blackout orchestrated by the Sussexes that left the Met Police unable to secure the perimeter of Portland Hospital effectively. When the palace was forced to issue a statement that Meghan had gone into labour hours after she had already returned home, it wasn't just a media lie, it was a breach of operational trust with the police. The Met Police records suggest they felt their security assets were being used as props in a PR game rather than being respected as a protective force. By 2026, Prince William has synthesized these institutional failures into a powerful legal mechanism, the loss of judgment clause. William is currently arguing before the Duchy's legal advisors that Harry has demonstrated a chronic inability to distinguish between private brand building and constitutional duty. The argument states that Harry's judgment has been so compromised by narcissistic influences that he can no longer be trusted with sensitive palace information. This leads to the most dangerous rung of the ladder, national security. William is asserting that Harry's habit of documenting private royal moments for commercial series constitutes a data breach risk. Every recorded conversation and every leaked detail from the palace represents a vulnerability in the royal security perimeter. William isn't just acting as a brother, he is acting as the future guardian of the institution. The question now remains, how does this loss of judgment argument translate into the financial and legal exile Harry is currently facing? As we move deeper into the secret meetings held at the Home Office this morning, a chilling new detail has emerged regarding Harry's Level 2 threat status. We are uncovering the specific trigger event that happened just last week, which made this 2026 restraining order a non-negotiable reality. As of this morning, April 20th, 2026, the British monarchy has moved beyond simple silence. Prince William is now overseeing a sophisticated containment strategy known in diplomatic circles as information quarantine. This is a tactical application of the inside-out, outside-in doctrine, a mechanism designed to ensure that no private data leaves the royal perimeter and no emotional influence penetrates it. To understand why this 2026 restraining order is being finalized today, we have to look at the three-step mechanism currently being used to neutralize the Sussex influence. The first step in this mechanism is the supply cut. In the study of high-stakes psychological management, a personality that thrives on attention requires emotional fuel. By February 2026, William officially ordered the total removal of this fuel. This wasn't just about blocking phone numbers. The palace's IT security branch, working with the Home Office, established a digital buffer zone. Every communication from Montecito, whether it is an encrypted message, a formal letter, or an urgent email, is now diverted to a specialized legal review team. Neither William nor Catherine see these messages. This grey rocking at a state level has effectively severed the emotional leverage that Harry has used for years. Without a reaction from the palace, the Sussex narrative has no friction to burn, leading to what insiders call a strategic silence. The second step is controlled fact dumping. For years, the palace remained silent while the Sussexes controlled the media narrative. That era is over. As of April 2026, the palace has shifted to a preemptive truth strategy. By allowing meticulously researched institutional records such as the 2019 Metropolitan Police reports regarding the birth of Archie to enter the public record via authorized biographers, the palace is systematically deconstructing the Sussexes' victim narrative. When the public learns that the police felt lied to by the couple in 2019, the couple's current claims of being security deprived lose all legal and moral authority. William is using the truth as a clinical tool to strip away the Sussexes' credibility, layer by layer. The third and final step is the legal perimeter. This is where the restraining order comes into play. It is not an act of spite, it is a protective mandate. According to Ravik, the Royalty and VIP Protection Committee, the Sussexes' history of recording private conversations for commercial gain is now classified as an operational threat. If Harry is allowed within the private quarters of Adelaide Cottage, the risk of a data leak is considered 100%. Therefore, the restraining order serves as a legal firewall. It ensures that if Harry attempts an uninvited entry, security forces have the immediate authority to treat him as a trespasser, regardless of his royal blood. This mechanism is designed to force a narcissistic collapse. By removing the attention, the palace is forcing the Sussexes to either fade into irrelevance or make a desperate, visible mistake. William's logic is that the institution can survive a fallout, but it cannot survive a slow internal rot caused by constant betrayal. The wall is now complete. The Iron Curtain is sealed. However, a new report just reached the palace's legal desk 15 minutes ago. It involves a suspicious financial transaction linked to a private investigator in London, allegedly hired by a third party, with close ties to the Montecito household. Why is this investigator targeting the medical staff who treated Catherine earlier this year? The connection between this investigation and the 2026 restraining order is more terrifying than we initially thought. We are examining the target list found in that investigator's files next. As of this morning, April 20th, 2026, the atmosphere within the Steel Circle, the core group of senior royals and advisors, has shifted from strategic containment to a total moral offensive. While the public often focuses on the influence of Meghan Markle, a devastating new realization has taken hold within the palace. Prince William no longer views his brother as a victim of manipulation. According to high-level insiders, William now identifies Harry as the primary instigator of the family's structural damage. This realization is rooted in what William describes as a betrayal of the working-class spirit that defines the modern monarchy. One of the most damning documents currently circulating in the royal legal briefing is the Liverpool DOCA dossier. It highlights the background of Angela Kelly, the daughter of a Liverpool docker, who worked her way up from a humble background to become the late Queen's most trusted assistant. In William's view, Harry's verbal assault on Kelly during the 2018 Tiara Gate incident was not just a tantrum, It was a prince of the blood, using his inherited power to bully a woman of working-class roots to serve his own Hollywood ambitions. William has reportedly told his inner circle that Harry's willingness to trample on the staff who raised us for a Netflix storyline is the ultimate indicator of a compromised character. Joining William in this hardline stance is the Iron Princess herself, Princess Anne. Known as the royal family's ultimate disciplinarian, Anne has reportedly been the driving force behind the departure is permanent clause. This is a proposed legal amendment that would officially categorize the Sussex's exit, not as a sabbatical, but as a total forfeiture of the right to use any royal association for commercial gain. Anne's logic is cold and surgical. If you profit from the institution by attacking it, you lose the legal right to represent it. She has successfully lobbied for the Iron Curtain to include a total ban on Harry using his titles in any commercial contract moving forward, citing a breach of vow of service. The consequences of this Steel Circle consensus are manifesting in a massive institutional archive of complaints. We are learning that the palace's HR and legal departments have spent the last 6 months systematically gathering testimony from every staff member who worked for the Sussexes between 2018 and 2020. This is the Bullying Dossier 2.0. It isn't just about Meghan. It is a minute-by-minute record of Harry's own alleged verbal attacks and aggressive demands. By centralizing these testimonies, William is building a legal wall that proves a pattern of hostility. This dossier is the authority ladder that justifies the 2026 restraining order as an essential labour protection measure for the current royal staff. As for Catherine, the Princess of Wales, her circle remains a fortress of silence. However, her actions speak through the administrative changes at Adelaide Cottage. Every staff member with even a remote historical tie to the Montecito household has been reassigned or NDA checked. Catherine is no longer interested in bridge building. She is focused on perimeter integrity. But as the sun sets over Windsor this evening, a disturbing report has emerged from the palace gates. It involves a breach of protocol by a former member of the Sussex's security team who was spotted near the children's school earlier today. Was this a genuine security lapse, or a deliberate message from Montecito? The link between this physical sighting and the permanent severance clause is about to ignite a legal firestorm that no one saw coming. The final scenario for Harry's exile is being drafted as we speak. As we reach the final hours of this April 20th, 2026, breaking news cycle, the Steel Circle within Windsor has reached a consensus. With the narcissist label from the late Queen Elizabeth II now officially documented in the royal archives, the institution is no longer playing defense. We are looking at a scenario tree that defines the endgame for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Based on the current legal movements at the Home Office and the High Court, there are 3 possible paths for the coming weeks. Scenario 1 is what some insiders call the prodigal return, though it holds only a 10% probability. In this version, Prince Harry finally recognizes the manipulative influence identified by the late Queen and attempts to return to the United Kingdom alone to undergo intensive psychological rehabilitation. However, our sources within Adelaide Cottage suggest that Prince William has already vetoed this option. The trust is not just broken, it has been incinerated. William reportedly believes that any return, even a repentant one, would be a Trojan horse for further data leaks. Scenario 2, with a 30% probability, is the High Court collapse. Harry continues his aggressive legal warfare against the British press, but the foundation of his cases crumbles. With star witnesses like Glenn Mulcair now openly admitting that witness statements were pre-drafted and manipulated by Harry's legal team to fit a convenient narrative, the judiciary is expected to issue a summary dismissal. This would leave Harry not only defeated, but potentially facing massive countersuits for procedural fraud. This scenario would leave the Sussexes financially crippled and legally silenced, ending their war of information by force of law. The most realistic Keech ban, holding a 60% probability, is the Iron Curtain Decree. We are receiving reports that Prince William intends to take the unprecedented step of making the restraining order and the persona non grata status public on the upcoming birthday of King Charles III. By officially labelling Harry as persona non grata, a person not welcome William would be codifying the late Queen's narcissist dossier into a permanent state policy. This would ensure that Harry is legally barred from all royal events, residences, and ceremonies, effectively erasing his presence from the future of the British monarchy. But as we conclude this breaking report, a chilling detail from Robert Hardman's latest findings has sent a shiver through the palace press corps. Hardman reveals that Queen Elizabeth didn't just observe Meghan. She predicted the exact timeline of the California exit during their very first private tea at Buckingham Palace. Most shockingly, the Queen reportedly left behind a secret ultimatum in her private, sealed, will document that is legally mandated to remain closed until the moment Prince William ascends the throne. This ultimatum is rumoured to contain a specific hereditary clause regarding the Sussex lineage, a secret that Harry has supposedly spent millions in legal fees trying to keep buried. What did the Queen discover about the Sussexes' long-term plans that made her take this final, protective measure from beyond the grave? And why is the mention of royal bloodline integrity causing such panic in Montecito tonight? If you want to be the first to see our deep dive into the contents of that secret ultimatum, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell right now. We are on a mission to 700,000 subscribers to keep this independent reporting alive, free from palace censors and big tech strings. Smash the like button and comment truth below if you are ready for the final revelation. The Iron Curtain is falling, and we are the only ones holding the camera.